And this is exactly what we are doing in The Future is Peace. We are transforming feelings of revenge into reconciliation. We are transforming despair into hope, trauma into healing. So The Future is Peace is also like a manual, like a guide, not just for a shared journey across the Holy Land, but a guide for human conscience. And join us on this journey. What we learned, that revenge is not filling the hole that was created within you when the trauma happened. It only makes it bigger and bigger till it's big enough to be your grave.
I'll just throw one last skeptical view at this, though. I mean, look, back to realpolitik. Security, money, political power, global strategic alliances, the need for re-election, all these things tend to work against what you're talking about. How can you change that structure?
You're absolutely right. All of these things work against us, and that's why we need people on our side. That's why we need every listener here not to just say, oh, how beautiful what Aziz and Maoz doing, good luck for them. We will fail without you. We will fail without the Jewish community here in the UK and around the world. We will fail without the Muslim and Arab communities. Instead of fighting each other, they should come together. We will fail for our children. We will fail for our communities if we don't all start acting together. Push your politicians. Write to your media and say, why are you not interviewing peacemakers? Here's some suggestions. Talk to people. Buy this book to your politician. The Future is Peace, to your politician, to your clergy. We need religious leaders to be as brave as Pope Francis and Pope Leo, who's speaking about peace and not afraid about, oh, what's going to happen? How are people going to perceive it? There are a lot of things that each of us can do. Show up. That's very important. Don't just have a feeling for us. Show up. Do something about it. And back to what Maoz just said, we understand the trauma that the children are going through. We understand it very well. And that's why we need to invest in giving them something to dream for, to live for. I mean, I look at children in Gaza who lost thousands, tens of thousands of them, lost limbs, lost family members, lost their homes. They're living in tents. They're living in 40% of Gaza, which already was the most crowded place on earth. Now I can't even imagine how horrible it is. We need to give them something to live for. And waiting for another generation, as I hear some politicians talk about, oh, this is going to take 1 or 2 more generations. You telling me we accepting that these kids going to have to live in this reality for another generation or 2 generations, and we think this is going to be easier in 50 years to solve than today? It's absolute opposite. We have a small window. And this small window, we must take this opportunity. We have the next 2, 3, 4 years, and we must make sure there's an agreement in the next 4 years, because if not, God help us all.
Thank you for listening to the interview. You can hear a longer version of this conversation with Aziz and Maoz on our podcast. Just search for the interview wherever you get your BBC podcasts. Until the next time, goodbye for now.
From the BBC, that was...
Good morning, Manitoba. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio. We're live in downtown Winnipeg in Studio 15 at CBC, and thanks for joining us on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube. Good morning to Darren Marash, who's the producer of that YouTube stream. Hi, Darren. Good morning to Abby Adeyemi, who's behind the controls, our senior tech. Abby covers weather on the show. And good morning to Corey Funk, who is back directing in his regular role today and also covering the commute. Normally, I talk a little about what's coming up on the show, but I think I'm going to go right to our CBC Manitoba News Centre, because this morning we're all watching flooding, and quite a story that unfolded in Manitoba yesterday with flash flooding. And so Heather Wells is in to bring us the very latest of what we know this morning about the community and in areas affected. Good morning, Heather.
Good morning. Yes, flash flooding has left the town of Minitonas with no way in or out. All roads around that Western Manitoba community are washed out. Property damage extensive. Officials with Manitoba's Emergency Management Organization are heading to the Minitonas area to assess the damage from that flash flooding. And while waters in Minitonas are just starting to recede, Floodwaters are rising further west. Sandbagging started late yesterday in the town of Swan River. Now, the school in Minitonas is closed again today. Swan Valley Superintendent Rob Tomlinson says the building itself wasn't flooded, but it is surrounded by water. Many buses across the division aren't running, and Tomlinson says transportation is going to be a long-term problem. He says many staff can't get to schools in the area because of those road washouts. I'll be back with the latest on the flood situation and more Manitoba news coming up at 6:30.
All right, Heather, thank you.
Thank you.
Minitonas, near as we said, in the west. So it's about, from Winnipeg, it's 5 hours northwest, pretty much. But it is in the central part of the province. So if you have any more information coming out of there that we should know or be reporting, please let us know and reach out. Coming up to 6 o'clock on Information Radio, we're on air with you till 8:37. And let's dip into the weather because it's important. In Winnipeg, mainly sunny today. A severe thunderstorm expected this afternoon and a high of 31. So it's going to be so hot. Humidex 37 is what it'll feel like. And unfortunately, there's also water in the west. So increasing cloud and chance of a severe storm in Westman today. World Report is next at 6 o'clock. Stay with us here.
Q. Adam Shankman is a big-time director. He's made movies like The Wedding Planner, A Walk to Remember. His new movie is called Stop That Train, which he calls a stupid comedy in the best way. Adam's going to tell you about that. Plus, he used to produce the Oscars. You have to hear some of his behind-the-scenes stories.
There was so much wild stuff that happens there.
Q with Tom Power. This morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland. And on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. We start with a CBC News exclusive. There is new information about a shooting in Surrey, BC last month. Police have not identified the victim, but an investigation by the Fifth Estate reveals that he's an alleged high-level member of the Bishnoi gang. Fifth Estate co-host Stephen D'Souza has the story.
This has a very different feel to it. Individuals just walk in, kill someone, and then walk out. Absolutely targeted.
Surrey radio host Ginny Sims says the shooting of a man in the same building as her studio has shaken residents already rattled by a rash of extortion-related crime.
They're scared not only for today, they're now scared what the future of their children is going to be in this country.
Police haven't released the identity of the man shot and killed, but the Fifth Estate learned his name is Gurvikramjit Singh Waring. He was also known as Satvir Singh Waring, or Sam Canada. RCMP said he wasn't the target of any of the extortion threats that have plagued the South Asian community. But Sims says multiple people have told her Waring was making threats.
Some people are saying we've given information we had to the police. So when the police are saying unknown to the police, they don't know what's going on.
A rival Indian gangster reportedly claimed responsibility for the killing in a social media post. He said Sam was the main handler for the Bishnoi gang in Canada and involved in cricket match fixing. Independent journalist Ritesh Lakshmi says Bishnoi, a designated terrorist entity in Canada, is fighting against a breakaway faction.
I believe Sam Canada is also a part of that ongoing series of violent events targeting each other's groups.
One of Sam's aliases also reportedly appeared on an Indian government list of gangsters hiding in Canada, but federal agencies wouldn't comment if he was on their radar. Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, Toronto.
Social media may soon be banned in Canada for children under 16 years old. The Globe and Mail first reported the Carney government will table its online harms bill tomorrow. The proposed law would force apps like TikTok and Instagram to enforce age verification. Polling shows 3/4 of Canadians support age restriction for social media. There is concern over the decline in youth mental health and cyberbullying and screen addiction. Malaysia and Australia have already banned children from having social media accounts. Several other nations are considering laws banning access to protect children. U.S. President Donald Trump has a new timeline for an end to the war in Iran.
The Strait will open up right away. It'll open up immediately upon signing, which could be in 2 or 3 days.
Trump says Iran will not be allowed to have nuclear weapons under the new deal. The fighting between Israel and Iran has stopped for now. Trump says he had a productive conversation with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
We had a very good conversation, and he was hit, and he hit back, and I can't blame him for that. But no, he hit back. They were going back and forth, and now they both agreed through me to stop, and we're in the final throes of what will be a very, very good deal.
Trump says there are no sticking points getting in the way of a good deal. Iran has maintained that further Israeli attacks on Hezbollah in Lebanon would lead to retaliation. There are reports today at least 3 people were killed in an Israeli strike on southern Lebanon. As the soccer world gets ready to celebrate the FIFA World Cup, stories are emerging of referees, players, coaches, and fans being denied entry into the U.S. And now Iran says FIFA has revoked tickets for its supporters. The CBC's Chris Reyes joins me now from New York. And Chris, what are we hearing from Iran's Football Federation?
They're demanding answers. They want FIFA to step in to find out why their tickets were pulled. So each participating team at the World Cup gets thousands of tickets per match that they can allocate to their supporters. The Football Federation of the Islamic Republic of Iran issued a statement saying pulling those tickets runs contrary to the spirit governing international competitions and the principle of equality among participating countries. The letter goes on to say that the development raises serious questions over politicizing the world's biggest football event. They already had to relocate their base camp from Arizona to Tijuana, Mexico over U.S.-Iran tensions and other visa uncertainties for their staff members. This means the team is forced to travel back and forth to Mexico between matches.
This is not the only time that the U.S. has pulled visas for those participating in the tournament. Tell us about that.
That's right. A prominent referee, Omar Artan from Somalia, was denied a visa to enter the U.S. U.S. Customs and Border Protection issued a statement earlier this week stating that there were vetting concerns, but didn't explain what those concerns were, only saying that visas are granted on a case-by-case basis. The president has been openly critical of Somalia and Somali immigrants in the U.S. Artan would have been the first Somali to referee at the World Cup finals. Now, Canada has also issued a warning to those attending FIFA that a ticket to the World Cup does not guarantee entry into the country.
All right. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you.
The CBC's Chris Reyes in New York. A strolling bear stopped traffic and daily life in a Japanese city. The animal was spotted roaming parks and neighborhoods in Utsunomiya. Officials closed dozens of schools as they searched for the bear. As Malone Mullen reports, Japan has seen an increased number of bear attacks.
This local says it's a first for her city. An Asiatic black bear on the prowl, surrounded by high-rises, train stations, and convenience stores. The bear triggered an emergency response from Utsunomiya, a municipality that's home to 500,000 people. Security footage showed the animal galloping through a major shopping street in the center of town on Sunday. More witnesses reported seeing a bear roaming around campus and hanging out by a pastry shop. The unusual sightings convinced authorities to close almost 100 schools while they tried to capture the animal. The country's public broadcaster is reporting they finally found it hiding in a bush. The days-long bear hunt comes after several attacks across Japan in recent days. In Fukushima, one animal chased a factory worker around his office parking lot. The bear wrestled him to the ground before darting inside the building itself. Another bear smashed its way through the screen door of an elderly woman's home. She was able to beat it back with a pole and avoid injury. Japan is grappling with a record number of bear attacks, over 200 of them since last April, that have left 17 people dead. Experts say food scarcity is forcing the animals into populated areas. Japanese authorities are lobbing everything from culling to drones at the problem, but the attacks haven't slowed down. Malone Mullen, CBC News, Tokyo.
Carmaker Stellantis is recalling more than 1 million Jeep SUVs and trucks worldwide. It's because of fire concerns linked to the vehicle's power steering. The recall includes Jeep Wrangler and Gladiator truck models from 2021 to 2025. About 106,000 were sold in Canada. Flash flooding in western Manitoba closed all the roads in Minitonas. Hundreds of people are stranded in the community. Bartley Kivas has more on the concerns and the cleanup.
Water laps at a highway east of Minitonas, a town of about 500 on the north slope of the Duck Mountains in western Manitoba. Early Monday, storm water flowing down the hills turned two creeks into raging rivers. One of them carved a 25-meter channel across Ian McKay's yard.
The waves were so big when they were going through my yard, like 4-foot rollers. And if you would have went whitewater rafting and paid for that, what you could have rode across my yard, you'd have been happy.
McKay had to drive heavy machinery to his farmhouse at 3 a.m. to rescue his wife. They returned to find their yard destroyed and mud on the main floor of their home. The province says everyone in town is safe, even though the roads are out, the natural gas is off, and most homes remain without power. Ian's son, Mark McKay, a volunteer firefighter, was among crews out checking on neighbors. He says he's never seen anything like this flood.
It was just an absolute raging current going everywhere and going over every road.
While the water in Minitonas is receding, emergency management crews are heading to the town to assess the damage and figure out how to get food to people in the suddenly isolated community. Lisa Naylor is Manitoba's infrastructure minister.
Could be the same way it happens in other remote communities. Sometimes food is dropped in by helicopter.
There's more flooding on the way elsewhere in this valley. Sandbagging started late Monday in the nearby larger town of Swan River. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
That is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime, cbcnews.ca. If you're enjoying the World Report podcast, please follow us and tell a friend. It helps spread the word. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Thanks for joining us on CBC's Information Radio. 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and on YouTube. It's not a great morning in parts of Westman. As you just heard on World Report, in Bartley Kivas' full report there about what's happening in Minitonas, we will be watching the weather there earnestly. So we're going to talk to Heather in a moment about the very latest of what we know from overnight and how that flooding has developed. In Winnipeg right now, we're clear downtown, but we also have some challenges with the weather coming to most of southern Manitoba today. So Abby will be in with that update in a moment as well. Now, besides the weather throwing us curveballs here, this hour on the show, we're going to hear from two Manitobans who have very different points of view on a variety of topics. But they sat down face to face as part of our Manitoba Talks project earlier this spring. Stay tuned. We're going to have a little fly in the wall moment with their conversation. And a little later in the hour, the rage bait economy. We'll talk to our technology columnist about content creators making money by promoting extreme views. Interesting how those two things are related. All right, let's get to Heather Wells now for the very latest on the flooding this morning. Heather, what's up?
Good morning. Well, the town of Minitonas is an island this morning. Flash flooding from heavy rains on Sunday has washed roads out to that western Manitoba town. Natural gas was off and most homes were without power last night. Mark McKay, a grain farmer and volunteer firefighter, spent yesterday checking on his neighbors. And while the floodwaters in Minitonas are now receding, floodwaters are rising further west. Sandbagging started late yesterday in the town of Swan River. In other news, Winnipeg's Gordon Bell High School has 2 new security guards. The community safety hosts are trained in harm reduction and trauma-related care. That school's been grappling with security concerns outside the building, including people openly using drugs nearby. We're going to hear from a grade 11 student who says he often comes across people who are acting erratically and makes him worry about his own safety. Those stories coming up in our next news at 6:30.
I'm going to keep you with me for a sec, Heather, Make sure I say this right. So the flooding that we're seeing in Minitonas was because of an extreme amount of rain that came down, like 72 millimeters of rain in only a few hours Sunday night. That's where all this started.
150 millimeters. Like it was, in just a couple of hours Sunday night.
So this is now going to start receding there, and it's going to move on, and then we're going to expect more rain. So that water is probably moving on. So if people are thinking this is river flooding, it's different from that.
Well, yes, it is. It's overland flooding.
Yeah. Except obviously the water and the rivers in that area are going to affect everything.
There are concerns as well, I should say, about the dam in the area failing. And if that happens, then you're getting a whole new situation.
A bigger problem.
Yeah.
We have 2 reporters, I understand, on the way to the scene?
Right. We do, from Brandon. Yeah, okay, they drove up there yesterday. Still can't get to the town of Minitonas because it is, all the roads are washed out.
An island, as you said. Yeah. So Chelsea Kemp and Michelle McDougall will see if we can touch base with them through our news department later. Okay, thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
And if you are in that area or you want to shout out or you're stuck in your home and you feel like sharing your story, we're here for you, 788-3205. The weather forecast is not going to bring good news for all of us. Abby Adiyemi's in with an interesting thing I've never seen them highlight a warning in this way.
Yeah, I've never seen such a highlight. It just came as a short note. Yes, quite cool start to Tuesday morning across the regions, but the concentration is down south this morning. We're going to start clear. We're going to see sunny conditions. Now, while we're enjoying this, sometime this afternoon, we should be bracing for like a potential shift in the weather. And Environment Canada is just saying you need to be prepared for this. And if the system comes your way, you have to shelter in place.
And they're calling it, like we know we have a severe thunderstorm warning, possible rather, a
They
risk.
call it the weather outbreak.
Yeah, I've never heard that term. A severe weather outbreak's possible.
So that's it. Just prepare for this. If you notice a shift in the weather sometime this afternoon or during your lunch break, I would advise you to just get inside as soon as possible. But here in Winnipeg for now, we're beginning the morning with current temperatures around 14, 15 degrees. Already seeing the sun outside. Expect a hot, humid day ahead as we climb to a high of 31. Now, while the morning is looking beautiful, just keep an eye on the sky. There's this increasing risk of severe thunderstorms that will be developing sometime this afternoon. And that's the situation across southern Manitoba today, all the way up to Dauphin and even towards the Swan River. That is what we'll be getting. While for the northern part, it's noticeably different. More like stable conditions with sunny starts and sunny conditions for most of the areas, with temperatures just getting into the 20s. But the concentration today, we are looking out for what the weather will bring for the southern parts of the province. Currently, it's beautiful. It's clear. It's about 14 degrees outside, but it's going to be humid, with the humidity on the high side, warming to 31 later.
All right. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Well, Corey Funk, welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, so the major issues this morning, of course, Highway 10, right from Swan River to Minnetonka, completely closed because of all those washouts we've been hearing about. Even further east as well, Minnetonka also closed. Also, keep in mind Highway 83 from Swan River down to Roblin. There's multiple points washed out as well on Highway 83 between there. So before you hit the highways today, especially in western Manitoba, the far west there, just check that map. It shows you where those washouts are on Highway 83 in particular. Other than that, though, seems pretty clear in the city so far. But if you're out there on your walking, biking, driving, it is Bike to Work Day today, so lots of people out on their bikes. You can give me a call. Let me know what you're seeing out there. That number 204-788-3093.
Wow, we live in a place with extreme weather. I know I say that when all of our seasons change, but when you think about wildfires and now flooding and all the different things that can come at us, we sure do need our resilience. Well, next on the show, let's talk about people that have different opinions on things, but still come together. Two strangers from completely different walks of life, opposed political viewpoints as well, who also have that, took a risk and decided to sit down and have a conversation about various topics and meet each other in person. They thought it was important to sit down and talk about some of today's, frankly, most divisive issues. As part of our Manitoba Talks project that we piloted this spring, inviting you to do this, it's where we ask Manitobans to answer a series of yes or no questions on various polarizing topics, first on a survey online. Then participants were matched with others who answered differently. So some of the questions were like these following ones. Is Canada letting in too many immigrants? Should teachers have to tell parents about changes in their kids' pronouns? Did the government go too far with COVID restrictions? Just three of the questions people sat down about. Well, our next two guests were paired up and they answered differently on all 8 questions. And then, even though these conversations and the purpose of them was to build community and not necessarily for broadcast, we did ask people if they would like or see value in having parts of their conversations broadcast. And these next two folks did. 53-year-old Shola Agbula was born and raised in Nigeria and immigrated to Canada in 2003 and is a corrections officer. He's also previously run for office. You might recognize his name. He ran for the Federal Conservatives in 2021 and 2025. 25. 84-year-old Robert Roberts was raised by his grandparents in the small rural town just north of Swan River, in a small rural town, rather. He moved to Winnipeg when he was 13. He retired in 2006 after working at a treatment center. Politically, he identifies left of center. They sat down with Weekend Morning Show host Nadia Kitwai to debrief their experience, and here's part of that conversation.
Did the government go too far with COVID restrictions? Robert?
We were just talking about that earlier.
You answered?
Well, I'm in a 12-step program, and it just shut down the whole, the main thing, one of the main aspects of those meetings are the meetings. Yeah. And so we couldn't meet, so we had to start the online Zoom. And we were connecting with people that we would never have connected with or met otherwise. Mm-hmm. So there was a bonus for us coming out of that.
Because you had answered no to that question, right? You didn't think the government went
Yeah.
too far with COVID restrictions.
Yeah.
Because there was a silver lining to some of the restrictions. You got to
Right.
meet different people from your program. What about you, Shola? You said yes, the government went too far.
I said yes in the way and manner in which the government went about it. And especially it became very sensitive for people like myself who have come from different part of the world, from a different world where government just became quite very authoritarian. They just give you instructions and a hard line and things like that. And coming to a very pleasant democratic society where you have ability to display your displeasure about government policy and things like that, and everything is kind of cut dry without much explanation. For me, it's not so much about the steps that the government took, it's about the way it was done. If there were more explanation and more investment into, how people can understand the risk of COVID-19 and what was happening, there were so many people in, immigrant community that doesn't even understand what the government was doing. And all we just knew, you can't go out, you can't mix together, family, you have to distance, there's no family gathering, there's none of that. If government invested so much or invested more in understanding or creating communication avenues in different ways, in different languages, or even helping, promoting it on radios and TV more, that would have been a little more acceptable to people as opposed to, just handing it down and everybody has to obey that way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Robert, what are your thoughts, reactions to Shola's perspective?
Well, I understand. Nobody likes to be dictated to. And I can understand the more consultation between people, between the agencies and, just our regular person. Mm-hmm. One of the things after we went through that, I felt like I had cheated Shola. I didn't, I didn't challenge him, or I didn't, upset the boat or whatever.
Well, now's your chance. Still got time.
And I realized, you give these questions and concerns real thought,
yes.
You're detailed in how you explain, you come to your conclusion or your point. And I felt like I didn't meet that challenge. My answers were one thing, justice, and earlier I said about the heart. I approach, and I'm an optimist, I believe that there's always good that comes out of, as long as we're willing to face it and be open for learning. I get that sense from Shola. I get from you're not coming hard, fast. You're not willing to learn or to grow or to change. But that doesn't mean that you have to compromise your values and beliefs.
Right. And that was basically what made the experience quite unique, in my own opinion. So we weren't trying to convince each other, but to see from a different perspective and to sort of understand. And in most cases, all this compromise might even be temporary. You understand what I mean? Like, well, when we're talking about the immigration, if Robert and I were to work on an immigration policy, and I said, okay, instead of bringing in 400,000 this year, why can't we do 200,000 or 300,000 and work on this integration or settlement plan and things like that or whatever? Even though it will have loved 400,000, it could have, okay, let's work on this, and because I understand the reason why you're. So those are the kind of compromise I'm not seeing among policymakers, that everybody just want to be a winner, without the benefit of those explanations, and that's what I find quite very interesting.
Yeah. That was part of a conversation between the CBC's Nadia Kidwai hosting there and Winnipegers Shola Agbula and Robert Roberts, who were paired with each other for our Manitoba Talks project. You can watch the whole thing on our YouTube page, on CBC Manitoba's page, and see how they debriefed on some of the other polarizing questions. They answered differently on all 8 of them and agreed to sit down. Well, speaking of polarizing, a CBC News investigation has found accounts from countries including India, Pakistan, and Indonesia are making money by posting about Alberta separation. Carmi Levy is our tech journalist and analyst, and is a tech journalist and analyst, and here to talk about it now. Hi, Carmi.
Good morning, Marcy. So great to be with you.
Yeah, so it's kind of ironic we're moving from this conversation where people are trying to understand perspectives into posting polarizing for clicks. How do people make money for posting this kind of stuff?
I mean, this is the attention economy on social media platforms today. And companies like Facebook and YouTube and TikTok, how they make money. We don't pay to access these services. They're free for the most part for us. They make money from advertising. So we go online, we engage with that content, they collect data from us, and then using that data, they serve up ads that are relevant to us, and they take their revenue from that. If you're an influencer, the same logic applies. You create an account, you create a channel, you post content, you get people interested in it, they follow you, they engage with that content, ads get served up against it, and influencers take a cut of that. Of course, exactly what that content is entirely up to you. If and in many cases, these influencers, they're posting content that has nothing to do with what they're really interested in. They're simply picking themes that they think will be the most viral, will generate the most kind of engagement. The biggest audiences serve up the most ads, generate the most revenue. And that's what this is all about. They have no ideological connection to what's happening in Alberta or around the separation issue. They just woke up one day and decided, well, a lot of people are interested in this. Let's glom onto that and we'll go viral that way. And that's what seems to be playing out.
Is there a way to tell if what we are looking at was created just to generate views and clicks, or if it's something genuine? Because viral used to be something, I'm so surprised it went viral, and viral now is, it's on purpose.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all comes down to, you can tell just by the hyperbole in the messaging. And so if it starts with a headline, you're not going to believe what happens next. And oh my God, I was canvassing for signatures for the referendum petition, and I was attacked on a street. Drama in a Calgary neighborhood. Click here for more. You can usually tell when someone is trying to kind of stoke conversation and pull you in with a non-legitimate ask. You can usually see that coming up in your feed. You used to be able to tell by the quality. The quality was relatively low res, in many cases cut and pasted from somewhere else, stolen from other people. The language, the grammar, the spelling, not quite there. But of course now, thanks to AI and other tools, fidelity is much higher. You can often tell based on the sourcing. In other words, has that account been around for a long time? Non-legitimate accounts tend to be fairly new. They're set up for that purpose. And in many cases, you can tell the physical or geographic location of someone by looking at the account information or the profile. So it's obvious. Someone who is in, say, Denmark, posting about Alberta separation, that should be a tell that something is not quite what it seems.
What do you think this does to us? Like, what's the wider impact on society and people's views on social and political issues?
It's definitely not positive. I mean, engagement in democracy is based on access to legitimate content so that we can inform ourselves and then be intelligent participants in the process and then ultimately use that knowledge to make the best possible decisions for us. That is the very bedrock of democracy. Whereas if you flood the channel with misinformation, disinformation, and deepfakes, which is what we're seeing here, it pushes out that legitimate content, makes it more difficult for reasonable people like you and me and all of our listeners to find the truth, to make the best possible decisions for us. And so even though we don't have apps, like I can't say for a fact that this activity is going to drive this percentage swing in the Alberta separation vote, I think we can all agree it's not a good thing. It runs counter to fundamental democratic ideals, and it makes it more difficult for legitimate consumers of that content, Canadian voters, to participate in the process. It erodes democracy.
All right, Cormy, thank you very much for this. Nice to talk with you this morning.
Appreciate being with you, Marcy. Thanks so much.
Cormy Levy is a technology journalist and analyst. We're about to hear about the flooding and the impact in Manitoba on your local news. I'll just mention that when it comes to the commute this morning, remember that Highway 10 closed due to localized overland flooding there, flash flooding, and Highway 83 portions of it as well are affected by water over the road. So please call us if you have anything else to report, 788-3093. Otherwise, it should be straight ahead, but it's spring, so there's going to be other localized places we probably don't know about. So let us know here at CBC and we will pass it along. Coming up, we have business news on CBC. Christelle Ramlichan is going to be joining us. We'll talk about energy. There's more interest in Canada's natural resources, so we're going to find out specifically what that story is about. Also, a Canadian energy drink company is preparing to take on a popular beverage giant. So we'll get the details there. And she also has a story about Apple announcing an all-new version of Siri. So what is that going to sound like? That's all coming up with Christelle Ramlichan live on our business news. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio, and you are on CBC 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube. And now to the latest that we know about what's developing in Manitoba on your CBC News.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 6:30, it is 15 degrees. We're starting Tuesday off with sunshine, but we'll see clouds move in later. Still hot today, a high of 31, and we do have storms moving our way. A risk of severe thunderstorm this afternoon, and then tonight, showers heavy at times, and again, a risk of severe thunderstorms this evening in Winnipeg. The town of Minitonas is an island this morning. Flash flooding from heavy rains on Sunday has washed out roads to the western Manitoba town. Natural gas was off and most homes remained without power last night. The flash flooding in Minitonas on Monday carved a massive channel out of Ian McKay's front yard. McKay lives along the West Fayville River on the north slope of the Duck Mountains. He says the river, usually a creek, turned into a torrent nearly 300 meters wide.
The waves were so big when they were going through my yard, like 4-foot rollers. And if you would have went whitewater rafting and paid for that, what you could have rode across my yard, you'd have been happy.
McKay drove a piece of heavy machinery home at 3 Monday morning to rescue his wife. They returned in the afternoon to find their yard destroyed and the main floor of their home full of mud. Now, Manitoba's Emergency Management Organization is heading to Minitonas to assess the damage. Officials in the Swan Valley say damage could top $50 million. Swan Valley Reeve Bill Gates says Sunday night storm dumped 10 inches or more than 250 millimeters of rain. Several people had to be rescued from their roofs by fire crews using boats. A dam north of Swan River was failing yesterday, pushing water levels even higher. Gates says damage to roads will be in the millions. He says losses for farmers could hit $50 million. Gates says the province offered to send sandbags in 2 to 3 days.
They just don't get it. There's not a lot the province can do for us 6 hours away from Winnipeg, because when it's 3 days to get sandbags up here, well, the houses we were sandbagging now have 3 feet of water in them, so we don't need any more sandbags. It's tough, and I'm not trying to say they can be everywhere.
Gates says his most immediate concern is how to provide emergency medical care when most roads are washed out. Now, school officials in the Swan Valley Division are scrambling to get kids to class. The Minitonas School is closed again today. Superintendent Rob Tomlinson says the building itself hasn't flooded, but it is surrounded by water. Many buses across the division aren't running. Tomlinson says transportation is going to be a long-term problem.
We're going to be adding a lot of kilometers to our bus routes because it's going to take our RMs and the province, because we have some provincial roads that are washed out as well, is my understanding, a long time to fix and repair the damage that's been done.
Tomlinson says many staff can't get to schools in the area because of those road washouts. We will bring you the latest on the flood story in the Swan Valley throughout the morning right here on CBC Radio 1. Here in Winnipeg, 2 community safety hosts are now patrolling around Gordon Bell High School. The hosts are certified safety guards trained in de-escalation techniques, harm reduction, and trauma-related care. Principal Tanis Westall says Gordon Bell has been grappling with security concerns around open drug use and homelessness near the school. She says the safety hosts are one measure to make students feel more confident about going to class.
There's a couple extra adults out here in the morning and are available for support if needed. What I want is kids to be able to walk to and from their schools safely without concern, without any concern of harm. That they can arrive at the building, have the best day, and head home with not one worry.
Westall says safety hosts will also pick up discarded needles and intervene if students are approached by strangers on the sidewalk. Gordon Bell has also installed access card readers at its entrance. A single father of 2 in Winnipeg is struggling to support his family since losing thousands in financial aid. As CBC's Rihanna Schmunk reports, he's disqualified by a crack in the legal system judges have wanted fixed for decades.
Abdiweli Mohammed is the kind of person the Canada Child Benefit was meant to help. A single father who had to quit his job to raise 2 young kids. A judge and immigration officials say he's a law-abiding, tax-paying resident who should get the payments, but he can't.
The law is the law, but it is seriously heartbreaking because I'm stuck.
Mohammed is a Somalian immigrant. The 36-year-old has government permission to live in Canada indefinitely, but he still doesn't have the right formal immigration status to qualify under tax law. He used to get the benefit while married to his former wife, a Canadian citizen, but they split. Carleton University law professor Jamie Liu says Mohammed is falling through the cracks.
This is so egregious. It just shows you that both tax law and the immigration law failed him.
The tax court judge who reviewed Mohammed's case says a predecessor raised the same issue 25 years ago, but it's been ignored. The ministries in charge of immigration and tax law are reviewing the latest ruling. Rihanna Schmunk, CBC News, Vancouver.
Carmaker Stellantis is recalling more than 1 million Jeep SUVs and trucks around the world. It's because of fire concerns linked to the vehicle's power steering. The recall includes Jeep Wrangler and Gladiator truck models from 2021 to 2025. Around 106,000 of those vehicles were sold in Canada. You can find the latest national and international news coming up on World Report at 7 and more Manitoba news with the latest on the flood situation in Swan Valley on our website, cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Man, we need a spring where Manitobans can just chill out, right?
Just a relaxing one, right? Last year was wild with fires.
Yeah, we just passed all those 1-year anniversary stories, and here we are talking about what we're more used to, which is flooding. Hopefully, this too shall pass, but I don't know. That's my intro to the forecast. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
All right, Abby, we are going to get more rain.
Yes, Marcy, but we start with sunny conditions across the regions, and for the southern parts, we're expecting this a stormy afternoon across southern Manitoba. Also, we have this note from Environment Canada saying look out for a severe weather outbreak, which is expected sometime this afternoon, and it is recommended you prepare for the weather to change rapidly immediately from the afternoon period into the evening. So you need to monitor and look out for warnings when they are issued. For the Red River Valley region at this time, here in Winnipeg, we're enjoying mainly sunny conditions at this time. It's going to turn cloudy as we get into the afternoon. There's a risk of thunderstorms coming our way. It's going to get windy also this afternoon. Current temperatures, we're close to 16 degrees in the city. Morning temperatures really going to be hovering around 15, 16 before we climb to a high of 31 today. And then we expect that heavy showers and stormy conditions to roll into the evening period, where we will see cool temperatures around 17, 18 degrees overnight. Similar conditions we're seeing across the southern regions, from Morden towards Port de la Prairie. Sunny at this time, 11 degrees, warming to 28. It's going to get breezy from the southwest later. Brandon towards Nipah, we're seeing sunny conditions there also. 8 degrees at this time, aiming for a high of 27. We have a risk of afternoon severe storms also coming your way for that part of the Westman region. Dauphin towards the Russell area, it's sunny at 17, aiming for a high of 26, 27. Gimli is also enjoying some sunny conditions at 10 degrees at this time, reaching a high of 30. There's a risk of afternoon storm coming towards the Interlake region. Then for the northern regions, we're seeing sunny conditions from the Par all the way towards Norway House. Highs will be around 27. Current temperatures are near 16 degrees. Lynn Lake, similar conditions. Tuduli Lake, a mix of sun and clouds at 11, warming to 21. While Churchill is at 12, aiming for 22 today. So it's more like that severe afternoon storms, more concentrated towards the southern part of the province today. But we're going to see stable sunny conditions in the north. For the city, enjoying the sunny conditions before the transition starts to roll in from your lunch break, and then things begins to change from the afternoon period. Right now it's 15. We get to 31 later.
All right. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Roads closed, Corey?
Yeah, it's Highway 10 right now is the biggest closure. That's right around Minitonas, runs west all the way to Swan River, and then also east of Minitonas as well because of that flooding. As well, there are kind of localized washed out roads along Highway 83 between Swan River and Roblin. So you want to check Manitoba 511. There's a few different spots where the road is washed out. So make sure to check that before you head out on Highway 83 this morning out in western Manitoba. Other than that, though, things seem to be pretty clear here in the city. If you're walking your bike and you're driving, feel free to give me a call on the CBC commuter line. Would love to hear from you. That number, 204-788-3093.
Is that a tiny Is that a BMX? What's that bike out our window?
Likely. There's probably a few different types of bikes out there this morning because it is bike to work day today. So
yeah, we're going to see some cool things. Not that one across there, right out here.
I can't see it.
Oh, Corey.
Oh, yeah, no, that's not a BMX. It's like a very small like commuter. It probably folds up. It's like one of those bikes that fold up, and they're like kind of travel bikes. So you can kind of get.
You thought I was just talking about the road bike over
no,
there.
that's a bike, Marcy. That's a normal bike.
There's two of them on our window.
Yeah.
Probably should watch for that too, as Corey said. Bike to work day. Speaking of which, Corey's going to be out later. What stop are you going at? Sorry, I'm going to get you to pop your mic back on just so people can go say hi to you.
Yeah, if you want to stop by, I think I'm going to make my way pretty much after 7 o'clock. I'm going to bike pretty much straight down to the corner of Assiniboine and Osborne there, right outside the ledge at the corner there.
Cool.
And go chat with folks. So if you want to come by, say hi. I'll be there with a microphone. Come chat with me.
Cool. They've got all their pit stops set up. I think there's coffee. And
there's lots going on. I was looking at the map of pit stops. There's pins everywhere all over the city. It's pretty cool.
All right. Thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
Crystal Ramelkant's here with Business News. Good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, Marcy.
Let's start with energy. There's more interest in Canada's natural resources. From whom?
Yeah, that's right. So from, foreign countries, including Germany. So a second German utility has expressed interest in purchasing liquefied natural gas from the Salisbury project planned for the BC coast. So Uniper and Salisbury's LNG have now signed a letter of interest that could see the company buy 2 million tons of gas a year. So Uniper is a major LNG importer in northwestern Europe, and its core markets are Germany, the United Kingdom, Sweden, and the Netherlands. Now, the German government took it over amid the 2022 energy crisis following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, but it is now in the process of privatizing it. And this $10 billion project on the West Coast has regulatory approval, but the partners have yet to make a final investment decision. So locking down these kinds of long-term supply deals is a key step toward that milestone. Now, Germany would not seem to be a logical typical buyer for Western Canadian gas based solely on geography, but European countries are looking to source gas from places other than Russia since that country's invasion of Ukraine. And the war in Iran has also halted LNG shipments out of the Middle East.
Let's move to another story, still about energy, but a different kind. A Canadian energy drink company is preparing to take on a popular beverage giant. What are the details?
Yes, that's right. So Guru Organic Energy is preparing a multi-million-dollar case, it says, that accuses a PepsiCo affiliate of abusing its dominant position in the beverage market. So a notice recently filed with the Competition Tribunal shows Guru will soon lay out a series of allegations against the Pepsi bottling group. So Guru has valued this case at $15 million, which it says is the amount Pepsi bottling has derived from allegedly abusing its position. Now, the notice does not outline what Guru alleges Pepsi has done to abuse its position, but in an April press release teasing this filing, it accused the company of using shelf allocation to disadvantage an independent competing brand in favor of Pepsi products. Now, much of this tension stems from an agreement that both of these companies signed, making Pepsi the sole distributor of Guru products for 10 years. But then Guru says Pepsi terminated that agreement last year. And then following that, Guru alleges Pepsi removed its products from some shelves, ceased delivery to some stores, and generated significant out of stock conditions, while also requiring Guru to commit to repurchasing this inventory that Pepsi was withholding. And Guru also says it confidentially disclosed details of its new Island Breeze drink. And then weeks before the launch, Pepsi's Rockstar brand released a competing product called Island Bliss. Now, Pepsi says the company will vigorously defend against these claims and noted it is not commenting further on this matter.
And Apple has announced an all-new version of Siri. What's it like?
Yes, that's right. So this was yesterday during its Worldwide Developers Conference, which is very popular. Lots of people go to it. And the move could bring its roughly 15-year-old digital helper up to speed with rivals like ChatGPT and Google's Gemini. So the upgrades include recognition and a standalone app. So users will be able to refer back to a previous Siri conversation, and the assistant will be able to find bits of information in your phone, apparently, like say a friend's address and a message, even if that information was not formally saved. And there will be new capabilities integrated right into the camera app. So Apple says users can tap the shutter button to let Siri see what they can see and receive useful responses. And a new set of actions includes getting, say nutritional facts about a picture of a plate of food, and also the ability to split a bill with friends, which raises a question, Marcy. Do you split evenly when you go out for dinner, or are you like, no, we should get separate checks. We'll just pay for what we ordered?
I'm very respectful and mindful of whoever I'm with. So usually I know the habits. So we have friends that split evenly. That's just, I know that's their jam, our jam. And then other friends want to split bill like individually. And that's how I handle that. But I would never use an app because my sister's a math teacher and she'd kill me. I do
She's
it
like,
on my
you
own.
can do it.
All right, Crystal Lee, I'm off the rest of the week. So we'll talk to you next week.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Marcy. Have a good time off.
Thank you. That's Crystal Lee Ramlakan with Business News. Well, students are also off today around the flood zone. As you've been hearing in the news, officials in Swan Valley Division are scrambling still to figure out what to do next. So we'll report information as we know it. But right now, the Minitonas School is closed once again because of overland flooding. Superintendent Rob Tomlinson says the building itself hasn't flooded. It is surrounded by water, as you've heard. Buses across the division not running. Now, this is the case today again, but he actually spoke with the CBC's Susan Magus late yesterday.
We're a small school division, but we have a large regional high school. So all of our students all come to one high school here in Swan River. So, and some travel, up to an hour on bus. So we have a pretty extensive transportation system that has been severely impacted here, thanks to the rain and overland flooding.
So how many students in total would you say had to make some accommodation to get someplace else, either like because they couldn't get home?
I would say roughly probably about 80 to 100, yeah, based on the feedback I'm getting from schools, yeah.
And what percentage of your total school population in Swan River would that be? Half the kids, a third of the kids?
No, it'd be about 1 in 15.
Okay. And how many kids go to school in Minitonas?
Yeah, about 100 students.
And is that a K-8?
It is a K-8 school, yeah. So about 100 students were impacted today, yeah.
Okay. So just to rewind what you'd said a little bit earlier, you got obviously staff living in the area. What have you heard from them?
Well, a number of staff, of course, couldn't make it to work today. Some schools had as many as a dozen staff that couldn't make it to work because, we're a lot of people live on acreages or their spouse is a farmer. So we have a lot of people that live rurally. So some schools were hit harder than others, but, and then, our heart goes out to those staff because just the horror stories and the pictures that were sent in where, like one staff member I saw, her basement was so full of water, it was to the floor joists. So it wasn't like 2 inches of water, they had 8 feet of water in their basement. So, just a lot of people, struggling, and like Minitonas, our staff that live in Minitonas, like they're basically landlocked, right? There's really no way out of there safely or back into there. So they're just kind of holding tight and doing the best they can to keep the water out of their basements or homes,
And what do you know about the school in Minitonas?
Yeah, we were worried that it was going to be a mess, but actually we had a little bit of a roof leak, so we did have a staff member in Minitonas go and check it out. So no overland flooding entered the building, which is good. I had pictures in my brain of 3 feet of water in it. So it's high enough that it was dry, but I haven't seen a picture, but one staff member described it kind of as being on an island because the playground and parking lot around it are full of water, but it didn't enter the school. It didn't get high enough to enter the school, so we're grateful for that. We'll see though, because I feel like in the reports we're getting is things haven't crested yet, so we're monitoring.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Have you been given any intel on when the crest is expected?
No, you know what? There hasn't been a lot of communication. I think a lot of our emergency services have been so run off their feet that we haven't had any EMO conversation today. We've been kind of, but we're hoping before the day is out that there's some sort of connection there. Yeah.
Now, to be clear, that conversation was late yesterday. So that is Swan Valley School Division Superintendent Rob Tomlinson with CBC's Susan Magus late yesterday. The school does remain closed today, so the situation the same there. But what has changed, and the update, is the floodwaters in Minitonas, as you've been hearing on the news, perhaps with Heather, are now receding. They are, though, rising further west of that community. So sandbagging started late yesterday in the town of Swan River, and we'll watch what happens. Officials with Manitoba's Emergency Management Organization are heading to Minitonas today. So are two of our reporters from Brandon, Michelle McDougall and Chelsea Kemper, on the way. But as you can imagine, it's challenging getting into the area because Highway 10 has overland flooding affecting it, parts of it closed, as well as parts of Highway 83 closed as well. You can call us if you have any updates or a story to share from the flood area or elsewhere, 788-3205.
On the topics that matter, your voice should be heard.
It looks like this is maybe a one-day blip when farmers across the province need hot and dry.
Radio Noon is where you can voice your take.
In general, it's harder to find a job even if you're educated.
I'm Marjorie Dowhouse. From 12:15 to 1 p.m., Radio Noon opens the phone lines on one important topic.
When I was 5 or 6, my parents gave me seeds and helped me plant them. That was probably close to 70 years ago. And here I am still gardening.
It just brings everyone together. Radio Noon's call-in segment, 204-780-0893. We want to hear from you weekdays on CBC.
Well, Canada's new Governor-General starts her job this week. Louise Arbour was sworn in yesterday on Parliament Hill. Her speech at the ceremony touched on the promise of Canada, but also her hopes for a young generation that must navigate a fast-changing world. Let's talk about this, as well as Prime Minister Mark Carney's upcoming trip to France for the G7 Leaders Summit with Ryan Tumulty. Ryan is a political reporter with the Toronto Star. Good morning.
Good morning.
So what stood out to you from Arbour's installment speech in the ceremony yesterday?
Yeah, I was intrigued by some of what Miss Arbour brought into her ceremony from Miss Simon's installation. So, these ceremonies have a lot of protocol. They have a lot of things that are the same throughout, but governor generals can add touches to them. And Miss Simon brought in a lot of Indigenous culture into her ceremony, some of which Miss Arbour seems to have imported over into hers. So there was a blessing from an Algonquin elder. There was an Inuit oil lamp that was lit at the beginning of the ceremony. Those were both brought over from Miss Simon's installation, and I thought that was a really interesting nod. Miss Simon, of course, was the first Indigenous Governor General. Miss Arbour is not Indigenous, but she brought parts of those things into the ceremony. I thought that was really interesting. And then just her speech was this real message of unity, of coming together, of trying to work against some of the divisions, which I think was probably a nod to some of the separatist talk we've heard in this country recently.
So let's go right to this Pierre Poilievre clip then, because separately, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is starting a campaign across Alberta to rally for national unity. This is part of his speech yesterday in Calgary.
We should not just tell Albertans how bad it would be to have separation. Let's instead talk about how great it can be if our country is truly united and respectful of Alberta.
How do you expect his campaign will go? And maybe you can also touch on how Arbour is going to sort of navigate around this time in our country.
Yeah, I think for Mr. Poilievre, he's going to be pushing one particular federalist message, which is basically, it's not as bad as it seems. The Liberals, won't be in government forever, and their policies are changing and stay in Canada. It's an interesting message because it kind of ties his political fortunes to the separatist movement and the idea that, if they just elected someone like him, Alberta wouldn't have kind of the grievances that it had before. He specifically mentioned in that speech, of course, that there were no separatist movements during Stephen Harper's time in office. So, I think there is a bit of a tightrope to tying those two things together. And a challenge for him there, especially because, he's an Alberta MP and certainly his party has most of the seats in Alberta. But, in other parts of the country, I think the Alberta separatist movement is being seen as fringe in some cases, as being seen as having artificial grievances. So I think, it's going to be a real balancing act for him.
Mm-hmm.
I think Arbour, is definitely pitching that message of unity. And I think, the government picked someone who would be a very steady hand, I think. She has the experience and the resume to navigate what could be sort of fraught constitutional issues, and also continue to be that sort of public voice.
And just lastly, I mentioned we were going to touch on Mark Carney, the Prime Minister heading this week to the G7 summit in France. What are you watching for, especially when we're going to be looking at his interactions with Donald Trump?
Well, Mr. Trump and Mr. Carney, in public at least, have always seemed to get along. They're cordial. They joke, that kind of thing. We've seen that a few times now. I will be interested to see if that still continues. A lot has gone on in the world since the last two of them got together. A lot more could go on in the world this week, of course. A week is a very long time in the Trump presidency. But I think it will be interesting to see, how they talk as we get closer to some real deadlines in these trade talks. As we're really getting into the details, and I think there's some frustration on all sides that more progress hasn't been made. So I think, this summit could be quite interesting for that Canada-U.S. dynamic.
You hit it on the head. Will that cordial stuff continue? That's what I'll watch for, too. All right, Ryan, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Ryan Tumulty with us, political reporter with the Toronto Star. Coming up in the next hour of Information Radio, how are you getting to work today? A lot of people will be on bike. It is Bike to Work Day officially. Corey Funk's going to head out to one of those pit stops and talk to the folks choosing that active transportation mode. Also, Winnipeg School has started a new security program to address rising safety concerns for students and staff. We've had an ongoing series of interviews about what is happening around some schools in Winnipeg around public drug use and dealing and just many, many social problems spilling onto our streets in Winnipeg and how schools deal with that. So we're actually going to hear more about some of the new safety things that start today. Also in the next hour, it's baby season, or at least that's what Wildlife Haven Rehabilitation calls it. It's a spike in animal births that happens in spring because, well, it's spring. We're going to talk about all the cuties most often seen around the city and also how to help an animal in distress if one of those animals is an animal you shouldn't be enjoying on your way to work, but in fact helping. So stay tuned. We'll get that interview on for you. Of course, top of mind is all of the flooding. Corey's on the phone to some of the flood areas right now trying to reach folks. Heather Wells has your very latest in our headlines next.
Good morning. Well, flash flooding has left Minitonas with no way in or out. All the roads around that western Manitoba town are washed out. Property damage is extensive. Officials with Manitoba's Emergency Management Organization are heading to the Minitonas area to assess the damage from that flash flooding. And while waters in Minitonas now are receding, floodwaters are rising further west. Sandbagging started late yesterday in the town of Swan River. Now, officials with Manitoba's Emergency Management Organization are heading to the Minitonas area to assess the damage from what happened on Sunday. So we're going to hear the very latest coming up in our next local news at 7:30.
All right, thanks, Heather. Right now, because of the flooding, Highway 10 is closed all around that area. Also, Highway 83 portions are closed as well. Overland flooding, water over the roads. So call us if you have any other commuter tips to pass along. Check highways before you go. The situations can change quickly with water, especially. And 788-3093 is where you reach Corey. 15, mainly sunny today, although we have increasing cloud this afternoon and a risk of a severe thunderstorm. Our high 31 with Humidex. It's going to feel like 37. And if that breaks, it's going to be strong. So Environment Canada says a severe weather outbreak is expected this afternoon across southern Manitoba. So everyone should just pay attention to, obviously, the forecast and what's going to be coming potentially here. We'll look at the maps in the next hour with Abby. Thanks for joining us here on CBC. And next, it's World Report, the latest in national and international news. Stay with us.
Our goal is to be the first lab in the world to image CTE and be able to diagnose it in life.
Up until now, the brain disease CTE could only be seen in autopsies. Now, people are volunteering to have their brains studied while they're alive with the hopes of helping people understand what's happening to them, what they are learning, coming up on The Current.
The Current with Matt Galloway. This morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. The Carney government will introduce an online harms bill as soon as Wednesday in the House of Commons. It is expected to renew efforts to protect the privacy and mental health of young users and propose new guidelines for how children engage with social media. Janice McGregor joins us now from our Parliamentary Bureau. And Janice, what is driving this latest bill?
Marcia, there were a number of failed attempts to introduce online harms legislation in the previous Parliament. It's taken months for the Carney government to figure out an approach it believes will stand up to scrutiny. But what's on notice now is a bill called the Digital Safety Act. This could roll up a number of things that ministers like Mark Miller have been contemplating, like measures to protect vulnerable kids from the harms of social media. Taking action to regulate chatbots has been a priority since the school shooting in Tumbler Ridge. But chatbots are also used in education, so it's not clear that an outright ban is practical. When the government's AI strategy was released last week, it offered few specifics on how technology would be regulated. What's on notice now, though, would create a new entity called the Digital Safety Commission of Canada, something to serve as an enforcement and compliance agency. If the government is going to add age verification requirements to social media, it's going to have to figure out how to do that without risking private information like facial images or age data being exploited or manipulated. Digital cloud safety standards are among the topics that Mark Carney said last week he'll be discussing with G7 leaders at their summit next week.
So how would this fit in with the social media bans already being debated in several provinces?
Well, Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew has committed to proceed with a social media ban no matter what. Other provinces are still weighing the pros and cons. Saskatchewan's Scott Moe, though, has warned that if provinces all act individually, you could create a patchwork of rules across Canada. It's also unclear that constitutionally this even falls under provincial jurisdiction. All this adds to the pressure on the federal government to lead and be the regulator on this file.
Thanks, Janice.
You're welcome.
The CBC's Janice McGregor in our Parliamentary Bureau. Now to a CBC News exclusive. There is new information about a shooting in Surrey, BC last month. Police have not identified the victim, but an investigation by the Fifth Estate reveals that he's an alleged high-level member of the Bishnoi gang. Fifth Estate co-host Stephen D'Souza has the story.
This has a very different feel to it. Individuals just walk in, kill someone, and then walk out. Absolutely targeted.
Surrey radio host Ginny Sims says the shooting of a man in the same building as her studio has shaken residents already rattled by a rash of extortion-related crime.
They're scared not only for today, they're now scared what the future of their children is going to be in this country.
Police haven't released the identity of the man shot and killed, but the Fifth Estate learned his name is Gurvikramjit Singh Waring. He was also known as Satvir Singh Waring, or Sam Canada. RCMP said he wasn't the target of any of the extortion threats that have plagued the South Asian community. But Sims says multiple people have told her Waring was making threats.
Some people are saying we've given information we had to the police. So when the police are saying unknown to the police, they don't know what's going on.
A rival Indian gangster reportedly claimed responsibility for the killing in a social media post. He said Sam was the main handler for the Bishnoi gang in Canada and involved in cricket match fixing. Independent journalist Ritesh Lakshmi says Bishnoi, a designated terrorist entity in Canada, is fighting against a breakaway faction.
I believe Sam Canada is also a part of that ongoing series of violent events targeting each other's groups.
One of Sam's aliases also reportedly appeared on an Indian government list of gangsters hiding in Canada, but federal agencies wouldn't comment if he was on their radar. Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, Toronto.
Ukrainian officials say Russian attacks have killed 4 people in the Kharkiv region. At least 19 others are hurt. Firefighters douse a burning building just outside the city of Kharkiv. The strikes also hit businesses and apartments. Ukraine fired back with a swarm of drones at targets in occupied Crimea. Moscow says its air defenses repelled hundreds of drones over the past 2 days. On Monday, Ukrainian forces hit oil facilities in Russia. Kiev officials have said their plan is to make Moscow pay an economic cost for the war. U.S. President Donald Trump says, yet again, the war in Iran could end soon. Trump says, quote, negotiations are in the final throes, and that the critical Strait of Hormuz could reopen in the next 2 to 3 days. Trump is making the comments just 24 hours after Israel and Iran launched new attacks, and Israel is issuing new evacuation orders in Lebanon. The CBC's Crystal Gomansing has more from Jerusalem.
We have ongoing negotiations in Iran and with Iran that hasn't stopped, and we could have at least an idea by 1 or 2 days from now.
The timeline given by President Donald Trump is unlikely, says David Satterfield, an American diplomat who served in Trump's first administration.
The president was frustrated prior to the last 48 hours. Iran has displayed exceptional agency.
Iran, he says, has been and is willing to absorb more pain than the U.S. or the global economy, and is using Lebanon to get more concessions out of the U.S.
It is a very bad development that Lebanon has now become, because of the Israeli activities in Lebanon, because of the Israeli presence, and Hezbollah's ability to inflict pain on Israel, a tool in Iran's hand.
Israel Defense Forces this morning issued a new urgent warning to those in the Lebanese southern coastal city of Tyre and nearby communities. All residents, for their safety, are being directed to move north of the Zaharni River. That Hezbollah's violations of the ceasefire compel the IDF to act. Iran's top negotiator Mohammad Bakr Kalibaf said on Monday Iran's goal is to achieve lasting security. It's not, he said, looking to normalize relations with the United States, as it doesn't trust the other side. Crystal Gamansing, CBC News, Jerusalem.
Heavy rainfall has caused flooding near Manitoba's border with Saskatchewan. Rescuers used boats to reach people trapped by the rising waters. 150 residents in the Swan Valley region have been forced out of their homes. That's about a 5-hour drive northwest of Winnipeg. The community has issued a state of emergency. Officials estimate damage to the surrounding farmlands is nearing $50 million. A wedding invitation can come with an unexpected question. How much should you give as a cash gift? As wedding costs rise, Canadians are weighing gift-giving expectations against their own budgets. CBC business reporter Ina Sadhu explores the expenses involved.
I would say $100 cash.
Usually the $100 to $200 range has kind of been what I've gravitated towards.
Depends on how well you know the person. I'd say $250.
Wedding season is here, and Canadians are trying to balance wedding gift etiquette with the higher cost of living. Travel, hotel, outfits, and gifts can add up quickly.
I am factoring in about how much I can give as a young person living today, which is like way more expensive than it used to be.
Statistics Canada data shows consumer prices are up nearly 20% in 5 years, and that translates into higher wedding costs for the couple too. On average, they now run between $30,000 to $42,000, according to online platform Wedding Wire Canada. Planner Amanda Figueredo says the increase is showing up on the reception bill.
The biggest one is food and beverage. Definitely we're seeing a hike in the cost of signature drinks. Back in the day they used to be like $10, now they're more like $17.
Experts say guests shouldn't feel obligated to match the rising cost. Industry veteran Lenora Kingcott says,
I would think that $100 a person for the average wedding is where you would like to be. And I think it goes up from there.
She says cash gifts and honeymoon funds are becoming the go-to requests for couples, leaving traditional registries for the bridal shower. Ina Sadhu, CBC News, Calgary.
That is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime, cbcnews.ca. You know, more than 60,000 people follow World Report, and you can too. Find us everywhere you get your podcasts. I'm Marcia Young.
Well, we are expecting rain across southern Manitoba, and I'll tell you what, because of the flooding situation, it's not that welcome. Heather Wells with headlines in a moment. This is CBC. You just heard part of what's going on in Minnetonka on World Report. Heather will have the latest from this morning, as I mentioned, in just a moment. I'm Marcy Marcusa, and you're on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and on YouTube. This hour, in addition to covering the very latest on what's happening with the flooding, we're going to talk about a Winnipeg school that started up now their new security program. It begins officially today to address rising safety concerns for students and staff. A lot of this because of public drug use in and dealing in and around some schools in Winnipeg. So we'll have more on that and more on this next step in the conversation. Also to something super cute. It's baby season. That's what Wildlife Haven Rehabilitation calls a spike in animal births that happen in spring. So we'll get into that interview. And Corey's out of the studio. He's out in the sunshine in Winnipeg today. He's going to take us to a bike to work day pit stop. And be careful out there. You're going to see a lot of bikes around. Okay, let's get to Heather Welch first and find out the very latest on the flooding in western Manitoba. Heather, what do we know now?
Well, there is still no way in or out of the town of Minitonas. All the roads in that area washed out in flash floods that started Sunday night into Monday. Now, people in the area say this is the worst flooding they've seen since 1988. Natural gas is off. Most homes are still without power. And now the flooding concerns are rising west of Minitonas. Sandbagging has started in the town of Swan River, where floodwaters are rising. As all this work is being done, the forecast has a risk of severe thunderstorms tonight and tomorrow, with more heavy rain for that area expected. So we'll hear the latest on that. And as far as kids in the Minitonas area, school is closed again today. The Swan Valley superintendent says the school building was not flooded, but it is surrounded by water. And buses across the division aren't running because of all those roads that are washed out. So we'll hear the very latest coming up at 7:30.
All right. Thanks, Heather.
Thanks.
While Heather's mentioning that, I'm just going to do traffic first before weather, because it really is all about Highway 10 being closed. It's about around that area. It's about Highway 83 in portions being closed. And it's also to keep in mind that flooding happens very quickly. That overland flooding kind of creep on the edges of the highway. And then all of a sudden the road's gone and you're like, oh, hang on a minute. So just make sure you check and you know what's going on in your local area before you attempt to head out, even if you can. 788-3093 is where you can reach us with anything else. And as I mentioned, in the city, it's Bike to Work Day in Winnipeg. So watch for extra cyclists on the roadways. They have pit stops all around the city. Okay, let's get to Abby now for the latest on the rain in the forecast.
Yeah, Marcy, we have this bright stats across the regions. We're talking about sunshine all the way from the north and even into the southern regions. However, we have this severe weather outbreak that is popping up on the radar here, saying it will be bringing a risk of intense storms to southern Manitoba later today, sometime this afternoon. So be prepared for that. Though these activities we're seeing that's coming towards us from the Melita end will not be impacting the north, but it will be impacting most of the southern areas. We will definitely be seeing thunderstorms later tonight, and it will be heavy, so be prepared for that. Here in Winnipeg right now, we're starting with clear and sunny conditions, 16 degrees in the city. Expect a beautiful sunny morning as we climb to a warm high of 31 later, and we'll notice the winds coming from the southeast as you get into your day. But look out for those cloudy conditions to roll in with showers and heavy thunderstorms coming later in the evening period. Similar conditions across southern Manitoba, so be prepared for that.
Well, for all of the things that spring brings us in terms of fires and floods, let's talk about something nice. I'm talking about the babies, all the baby animals. Spring's that time of year when most wild animals give birth. And with more young around, it's important, of course, to know how to respond. If you see a furry or feathered friend that might need help. Amy Wilkie is up early and with us next on Zoom, the education program manager over at Wildlife Haven Rehabilitation Center. Good morning.
Good morning.
How cute is it where you are right now?
Yeah, it's a pretty cute and fun time over here at Wildlife Haven, but it's also our busiest time of the year. So it's pretty hard on our resources with all the baby animals that we're currently getting in.
Yeah. So you've had quite an increase. Is that right? What are you seeing this year?
Yeah, so this year we're seeing an over 50% increase in the same time as last year, which is pretty crazy. We're already at over 1,000 patients from the beginning of the year to today, and we're almost at 300 patients, which is roughly what our capacity is during the summer months.
Wow. Is there a particular kind of animal that's coming in the most or more than last year?
More than last year would be probably the babies. We're getting in tons of babies this year than previously. We're getting a lot of baby bunnies, baby squirrels, baby songbirds. It's kind of been a super crazy baby season here at Wildlife Haven.
I realize that you're in the business of saving and helping animals, but is there a time when animals should be left in the wild?
Yeah, so we always recommend that leave the animals in the wild if they can stay there. So a lot of times people will see an injured animal or think the animal is injured or think it's orphaned, and before giving us a call, they'll just take the animal and bring it right to our center. But once it comes to us, we do an exam, we realize that this animal is perfectly healthy. This baby has, milk in its belly, it's thriving, and it could have remained in the wild. So we always recommend, don't interfere with wildlife unless absolutely necessary. If you see an injury, if you see blood, if the animal's limping, then definitely it needs to come into our care. But for the most part, we want to try to keep the wild animals in the wild, being raised by their parents.
What are the other reasons why you might be seeing an influx like this? That's a 50% increase year over year.
It's hard to say. We typically do fluctuate year to year, just depending on how the environment is outside. Some years we are super busy, like last year, we had a lot of intakes, possibly due to the wildfires that were happening. This year, it could also be due because people are becoming more aware of who Wildlife Haven is. So before, they may not have known that there is a center like this that takes these injured animals. And so now all the animals are just coming our way. So it could be due to a number of factors.
We've had a couple of stories recently with people that have wildlife very nearby or in their yards. So specifically, a few weeks ago, there was a litter of baby foxes born, baby kits, I guess, born under a person's deck, and they have a channel watching the two parents. They're raising their 7 kits. St. Amand in Winnipeg had a family of geese making their home on their patio garden. That's pretty common, I think, in the city, but they have been relocated now to Manitoba Conservation. What should people in situations like that do where a litter is born and clearly that nesting is happening right beside a property or a business? Do you let it be because it's established, or what's your advice?
So for the most part, we would recommend letting it be. Wild animals, they raise their babies very quickly in the wild. So it could be only a number of weeks to maybe a month or two that the babies are having to stay in the nest or stay in the den, and then they're going to take off. And at that point, then you can safely close up the nest, close up the den so that they can't come back year after year. But we never recommend, trapping wildlife, especially at this time of year, because there could be a number of babies around. You may not get them all. And a lot of times, if you end up trapping some of the family or trying to harass the family away, the parents might end up abandoning their young. And then at that point, they're going to have to come into our care. So we always recommend just leaving them if they can be left there safely for just a couple weeks, just maybe a month or two, and then they'll be on their way.
What are you doing for staff? I mean, you started by saying that it's really hard to keep up with all this.
Yeah, it's been pretty tough to keep up with our current staffing. We always hire summer internships every year. So currently right now, I think we onboarded about 10 new summer staff this year, but we really rely on volunteers. We have over 100 volunteers that help out in both hospital and education, and they're, working tirelessly every single day to help us care for all these animals. We really couldn't do it without our volunteers.
What's the process for rehabilitation when it comes to babies? How is it different for different species? Like if you have a baby in, who has to stay with you the longest?
Yeah, so for babies that stay with us the longest, that would be otters and beavers. They typically stick with their parents for a year to 18 months. So when we get them in as just a little baby, we have to keep them for that same amount of time. So we're keeping them all throughout the summer, over winter, and then releasing them in the spring. So it's pretty intensive because especially when you have a very young baby, depending on the species, you could be feeding it 4, 5, 6 times a day, maybe even having to feed it overnight. So some of our staff will actually take these babies home with them and do feedings every 2-3 hours overnight. So it takes a lot of our staffing resources to be able to care for, these hundreds of baby animals that are coming in every spring and summer.
And just last briefly, Amy, what don't you take? Because I'm guessing you probably have had people show up with animals and you're like, that's actually outside of what we do.
Yeah, so we pretty much take in all native Manitoba wildlife. We're not able to take in deer, moose, bears, wolves, skunks, raccoons, and then mice. But any other native Manitoba, we will take into our center.
Has anyone ever brought you a moose?
Not yet, but you never know.
You better say it before it shows
better
up,
say
right?
it just in case.
All right, Amy, thank you very much for being with us this morning. Really appreciate the advice.
Thank you.
That's Amy Wilkie, the Education Program Manager over at Wildlife Haven Rehabilitation Center. And of course, the headline there is how busy they've been with baby animals coming in. A 50% increase in calls this year over last.
On the topics that matter, your voice should be heard.
It looks like this is maybe a one-day blip when farmers across the province need hot and dry.
Radio Noon is where you can voice your take.
In general, it's harder to find a job even if you're educated.
From 12:15 to 1 p.m., Radio Noon opens the phone lines on one important topic.
When I was 5 or 6, my parents gave me seeds and helped me plant them. That was probably close to 70 years ago. And here I am still gardening.
It just brings everyone together. Radio Noon's call-in segment, 204-780-0893. We want to hear from you weekdays on CBC.
Flooding yesterday means that the school is still closed in southwestern Manitoba. So we're talking about the community of Minitonas. We'll hear more in the news about specifically what's happening there. But if you were with us earlier, then you heard this was closed yesterday. It's closed again. These are officials in the Swan Valley School Division. The Minitonas School is closed once again today because of overland. Now, traffic-wise, you have Highway 10 that is closed. You have Highway 83 portions closed because of overland flooding. Heather will tell us more about where the water has moved this morning, coming up in our 7:30 news. It's 16 and mainly sunny in Winnipeg, and we have a severe thunderstorm warning, risk of a severe thunderstorm this afternoon, and severe weather expected is the word that Environment Canada is using, and that's across most of the south. Here in the city of Winnipeg, you should have a pretty nice, humid, hot, sunny morning drive or ride because it is Bike to Work Day. Look out for a couple of things. One of them is a group ride that's happening. They met at 6 this morning, and that huge group of people is making their way around the city. So right now they should be right around Omans Park, Laura Secord School. But Corey Funk is somewhere else at one of those bike pit stops today. Corey.
Hello. Yeah, I'm here at the corner of Assiniboine and Osborne right now at one of the pit stops here. And I've only been here, Marcy, for like 10 minutes, and probably I've seen at least 40, maybe. This is like a rough guess. 40 people come by. So it's been super duper busy. And one of the people who just stopped, I just pulled him over because I'm guessing maybe he's on his way to work, is Matt Veith. Hey there, Matt.
Hey.
So are you biking today just because of Bike to Work Day? Or are you you have bike gloves, so I'm guessing you're a pretty persistent biker.
I know I'm a pretty inconsistently done up kit, but I am a consistent biker. I'm actually not commuting to work today. I'm just with some friends who are commuting to work, and we're just having a good day, hitting all the stops and stuff like that. So
make it a morning of it.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. I'm curious just for yourself. So you seem you're just out for the ride today. What have you noticed in the last 2 or 3 years in terms of how cycling has grown in the city, or not?
It's a good question. I think there's been a steady increase in the amount of people biking to work. There's always that point when you hit the spring where it's there's people everywhere. I think the biggest change is probably the amount of scooters, and there's a lot of cycling safety advocates who'd have some questions, but I think in general we're people on their own two-wheeled machines getting to work. We just saw a scooter go by. I think there's definitely more cyclists. I think the bigger trend is actually the scooters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool to see. Well, I'll let you get back to your friends because I know you're all on your way, but thanks a lot there, man.
Of course.
Well, I'll be back after 7:30 and going to try to talk to some more folks, but it's bumping over here, Marcy, and we'll see you in a bit.
It looks bumping over there. I expected you to have some people, but you said 40 people?
I don't know. Yeah, 40. At least. And there's swarms of cyclists just going back and forth everywhere here. Right now, I in my line of vision, I think I'm looking at 8 to 9 cyclists right now, just back and forth right now as you kind of make your way around. There's just so many of them. So it's busy, busy, busy.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to more stories from you from that bike pit stop. Thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
It sure is nice also to just see outside of the studio here, seeing Corey on site there with the sun glistening off the trees. They got a great morning for Bike to Work Day here in Winnipeg. Corey's at Assiniboine and Osborne. That's one of the pit stops. They have a lot of pit stops this year. So that event has really been growing across the city to promote active transportation. And every pit stop has something a little bit different depending on who's putting it on. So you're going to find coffee, bike tune-ups, information about different organizations. Corey will bring us some more stories after 7:30 from the folks that are gathering at the pit stop he's out at. Right now it is 7:25 a.m. and it is time to talk morning sports with Paul McGowan. Good morning.
Good morning, Marcy.
So let's start in the NBA final. The Spurs got a win in Game 3 last night.
At a game last night that they needed to have, trailing 2-0, and they get it done on the road, a 115-111 final. Victor Wembanyama, 32 points for him last night. And Marcy, there were questions heading into these playoffs about his durability, not because of any particular weakness, but because prior to this year, he had only ever played 71 games in a season. He is now at 84, but he credits still being strong and effective to the work he did in the offseason.
I remember running laps and laps during the summer, and like my hamstrings were burning. But I was pushing through because I was trying to push my limits. And in the playoffs, I felt my hamstrings burning from running so much, playing sometimes 25 game minutes in a row. So the physical aspect is really the difference maker.
If you are unfamiliar with the specifics of Wembanyama's offseason training, he spent 2 weeks at a Shaolin monastery in China doing, as you heard there, lots of running, also martial arts training, also long nighttime hikes in the pitch darkness. All of it is paying off as the Spurs try to get back to even in this NBA final. Game 4 goes on Wednesday.
Well, let's go to the Stanley Cup final now. Vegas is going to try to go up 3-1 over the series tonight.
In what has been a very entertaining Stanley Cup final, 3 straight games decided by a single goal, 2 of those in overtime. Really fun hockey to watch, very stressful hockey if you're behind the bench. And Vegas head coach John Tortorella was asked if that's something he noticed when he coached in a Cup final back in 2004.
I think that our game as there's so much skill, the speed of it. I think it's a game full of mistakes, and it comes with youth, how young the league is. Although in this situation, there's a lot of veteran players in this Cup final. But the league itself, it's gone that way. You can see it during the regular season, too, that no lead is safe. You have to live with some of those.
If you're John Tortorella, it's easier to live with some of those when 2 of 3 have ended in your favor. Game 4 goes tonight from Vegas.
Yeah, that helps, that record. Let's stay with hockey. An interesting story from this past weekend's NHL draft combine.
Well, the draft combine is not always something that makes headlines. You have all of these young draft-eligible players doing fitness tests. And unless someone is especially impressive or especially unimpressive, as we have seen in the past, you don't hear much about the combine until after a player is drafted. But the combine does also offer a chance for prospects to interview with the teams that might draft them. And Latvian prospect Rudolfs Burskalns told reporters that the interview portion of this weekend was especially interesting.
There was one, if there was a snake in the closet, 18-foot king cobra, like it bites you once and you die, like what would you do? And well, I was like, yeah, I would fight it back, obviously. I'm not just going to sit there and, take care of me. So which team asked you that? It was Montreal.
That's an interesting question from the Canadiens. Kind of hard to argue, though, with Montreal's draft record recently. They are turning out all kinds of hockey players, all of whom are, Marcy, for some reason, hesitant to be in dark, confined spaces in that Canadiens dressing room. The NHL entry draft still a couple of weeks away. It happens June 26th.
All right, Paul, thank you.
Thanks, Marcy.
Paul McGowan with Morning Sports, filling in for Scott Reguer this morning. I'm going to mention some traffic here. So obviously I mentioned Bike to Work Day. We'll check in with Corey at that pit stop once again after 7:30. So lots more bikes on the road, especially because it's nice out this morning. Very hot, though. On the way home, you're going to want an umbrella to prepare because we have a severe weather outbreak expected this afternoon. That's the language they're using for southern Manitoba when it comes to risk of thunderstorms across most of the south. In traffic, we do have a stalled vehicle in the left turning lane, northbound Lage-Modière. So a northbound Lage-Modière stalled vehicle in the left turning lane. So that's what's happening there. In addition, of course, because of the flooding, Highway 10 closed, Highway 83 portions closed. And let's find out the latest on that front in your CBC News from Manitoba.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 7:30, it's 16 degrees. Lots of sunshine out there this morning, but we will see increasing clouds late this morning. And as Marcy mentioned, we do have a risk of a severe thunderstorm this afternoon and then heavy showers tonight with a risk of thunderstorms as well. It's going to be hot today and humid, a high of 31, the humidex 37. Well, there is no way in or out of Minitonas. Flash flooding has washed out all the roads in and out of that western Manitoba community. And as CBC's Bartley Kivas reports, property damage is extensive.
Water laps at a highway east of Minitonas, a town of about 500 on the north slope of the Duck Mountains in western Manitoba. Early Monday, storm water flowing down the hills turned two creeks into raging rivers. One of them carved a 25-meter channel across Ian McKay's yard.
The waves were so big when they were going through my yard, like 4-foot rollers. And if you would have went whitewater rafting and paid for that, what you could have rode across my yard, you'd have been happy.
McKay had to drive heavy machinery to his farmhouse at 3 a.m. to rescue his wife. They returned to find their yard destroyed and mud on the main floor of their home. The province says everyone in town is safe, even though the roads are out, the natural gas is off, and most homes remain without power. Ian's son, Mark McKay, a volunteer firefighter, was among crews out checking on neighbors. He says he's never seen anything like this flood.
It was just an absolute raging current going everywhere and going over every road.
While the water in Minitonas is receding, sandbagging started late Monday in the nearby larger town of Swan River. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Now, officials in the Swan Valley area say damage could top $50 million. Swan Valley Reeve Bill Gates says Sunday night storm dumped 10 inches or more than 250 millimeters of rain. Several people had to be rescued from their roofs. A dam north of Swan River was failing yesterday, pushing water levels even higher. And Gates says damage to the roads will be in the millions. He says losses for farmers could hit $50 million. Gates says the province offered to send sandbags in 2 or 3 days.
They just don't get it. There's not a lot the province can do for us 6 hours away from Winnipeg, because when it's 3 days to get sandbags up here, well, the houses we were sandbagging now have 3 feet of water in them, so we don't need any more sandbags. It's tough, and I'm not trying to say they can be everywhere.
Gates says his most immediate concern is how to provide emergency medical care when most of the roads are washed out. Now, things in Minitonas and Swan River could get even more challenging. Another storm system with the potential for 100 millimeters of rain is heading through southern Manitoba. The forecast says later today and tonight there is a risk of severe thunderstorms with heavy showers. Kane Kukulski is a meteorologist at the Storm Prediction Centre at Environment Canada in Winnipeg.
There's a lot of moisture in the air today. These storms are going to be really loaded with precipitation. So again, I think any of these storms that do form, depending on their track, the potential exists for in excess of 100 millimeters of rain with some of these storms.
Kukulski says after today's storm, more scattered showers are forecast for the area. Now, the school in Minitonas is closed again today. Swan Valley Superintendent Rob Tomlinson says the building itself hasn't flooded, but it is surrounded by water and many buses are not running. Tomlinson says transportation will be a long-term problem and many staff can't get to schools in the area because of the road washouts.
The horror stories and the pictures that were sent in where like one staff member I saw, her basement was so full of water, it was to the floor joists. So it wasn't like 2 inches of water. They had 8 feet of water in their basement.
We will bring you the latest on the Swan Valley area flooding as it continues to develop. Here in Winnipeg, Gordon Bell High School has 2 new security guards. The community safety hosts are trained in harm reduction and trauma-related care. The school's been grappling with security concerns outside its building, including people openly using drugs nearby. The safety host will pick up discarded needles and step in if students are approached by adults who may be intoxicated. Grade 11 student Lance Myron says he often comes across people acting erratically around the school.
I come to school every day and I walk out there every day. And it's a little scary at times, especially when you walk past someone who is unhoused and has an addiction. It's like, what could happen to me?
Card readers were also installed at Gordon Bell High School entrances to regulate access. Well, social media may soon be banned in Canada for children under 16. The Carney government has started the process to table its Digital Safety Act. We do not have details of the proposed law just yet, but there are reports the proposed law would force apps like TikTok and Instagram to enforce age verification. Malaysia and Australia already banned children from having social media accounts. Several other nations are considering laws banning access to protect children. You can hear more national and international news coming up on World Report at 8, and you can find the latest Manitoba news on our website, cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right, thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
We'll continue to cover this story live through our newsroom and here on the show, by the way, of the flooding that's happening. So coming up after 8 o'clock, we're going to check in with one of the area reefs this morning live. So stay tuned for that. Right now, let's get into our forecast for all the regions. Here's Abby Adiemi.
Yeah, good morning, Marcy. It's sunny outside, but we are still anticipating this severe southern storm that's going to be hitting the southern part of the province. It's tagged a severe weather outbreak, which is expected to hit most of southern Manitoba today from the afternoon period into the evening and all the way into the overnight period. We're anticipating serious thunderstorms. There's a risk attached to that. We're going to notice gusty southeast winds also. So look out for alerts that will be issued later to your devices and be ready to seek shelter as this storm comes through. But for Winnipeg right now, it is sunny outside. Some clouds will roll in later. Then we'll see those thunderstorms roll in also. Current temperature 16 degrees, both at the Forks and at the airport. We will get to 31 today with the humidex factored in. It will be feeling like 37, and that's similar conditions across the south. But if you look up north, we're seeing 15s, 17 degrees in the northern part of the province. We're looking at 12 in the Tuduli Lake area and 16 and mainly sunny in Churchill at this time. But Winnipeg, we're expecting a mainly sunny, hot and a windy start before those stormy systems will be rolling in later. 16 now, 31 later.
All right, Highway 10, Highway 83, overland flooding has caused issues. So 10 closed, 83 portions closed. This is all around that flood area in Minnetonka and moving as we speak. So obviously, if you're in any other area that has an issue with traffic this morning, let us know. In the city of Winnipeg, northbound Lagimodiere has a stalled vehicle in the left turning lane, we understand. And other than that, that's our report to this hour at 7:37. So give us a call, 788-3093, if you do need to reach us on the traffic line. In addition, watch for bikes out there because it's a nice hot morning, as Abby said, and there's pit stops all over town for Bike to Work Day. There's even a big group ride that's going around. Corey Funk, before the 7:30 news, we touched base with at Osborne and Assiniboine. He's at one of the pit stops set up this morning, and he appears on Zoom to be with another cyclist. Now, who you with?
Yeah, I'm with Tim Hebert here, and he's on his way to work. Hi there, Tim.
Hello.
So how long is your bike commute to work today?
Normally it's 12.5 kilometers. I'm a little longer today to hit up a few more pit stops.
Okay, so you're doing the full route, making a day of it.
I'm trying to get to 20. Yeah.
Trying to get to how many have you hit so far?
13.
13.
Yeah.
Okay, so like how many? That's a lot of juice boxes.
I don't take juice boxes at everyone. I want to leave some for other people that maybe don't start quite so early in the morning. Yeah.
So 12.5K commute. How long does that usually take you?
Normally it's about 40 minutes, give or take.
Okay. And how long have you been bike commuting for?
I've been biking to work on and off for about 25 years.
25 years. So I'm curious, in terms of biking to work now versus 25 years ago, how different was it since when you started?
I'd say it's pretty much night and day. Between the infrastructure that's in place, depending on your route, it can be much easier now than what it was before. And also just the general attitude around it as well, too. 25 years ago, you were a little bit more of a pariah at work. You're that guy if you bike to work. Now at my current workplace, we've got 60 people, and I think probably 20 to 25 of them bike to work in some capacity. So it's changed. It's night and day.
And what would you still like to see change to make cycling more friendly? Speaking of which, by the way, I just got to point out, there's been literally well over 150 people in the last half hour since I've been here. It has been busy today, Mars. What would you like to see change to make cycling more of a viable option for folks in the city?
I think there's two big things employers need to get in on it, the ones that aren't already, and a lot are. Make sure that they have the facilities available for people that maybe need a shower after a 12.5K bike ride in, lockers, that sort of thing. Just a little extra secure bike storage is always a big thing. And the city just needs to keep doing what they're doing with adding more bike infrastructure. It's tough when they put it in piecemeal and it's not a connected network right at the off the hop. But as they are continuing to build upon the network of what they have and start connecting the routes and that sort of thing, it makes a big difference into the viability for somebody that's maybe not as committed, that's not as comfortable to go in traffic, to have that separated bike lane along their route.
And where would you like to see a bike lane in the future in Winnipeg?
Everywhere. I do know that they have some plans along Henderson Highway, I think starting on North Henderson over the next few years to put some in. I think that'll be pretty good. Some of the options there aren't so great, but wherever the people are going to be, the tricky thing is, if you do studies of where people are going now, that doesn't necessarily indicate where people would go if they could, if they had a big bike route. So that's a tricky answer.
Right. And finally here, what do you love about biking? Holy smokes. I just got to point out, paint a scene for you here, Marcy. I'm watching maybe almost over a dozen people crossing Osborne right now in a giant line of people.
This is going to be clunky, but just turn that camera around. I know it's on a tripod. It'll be hard.
Oh, wait, we're missing it here. But look at everyone behind us here. I'm just watching everyone coming by here. I wish I could almost show you here, Marcy, but my goodness, it is like a full-on peloton of folks here coming through to use a cycling turn. It has been bumping over here. But finally here, Tim, before I let you go, to work so you're not late and get fired, what do you love about biking? Why do you do it? Why have you been doing it for 25 years?
There's a few reasons. I'm cheap. It saves money. It's good for getting in shape. I cannot commit to going to the gym ever, so this is my gym. And also, I do it for my wife because it makes my butt look good, so I do it for her.
Well, we'll leave it there, Tim. Thanks so much. We'll let you get to work.
All right, thank you.
Okay, cheers. Have a good one, man. Well, Marcy, there you have it. There's some other people. I've been trying to get some more folks, but they all have to work. So I'll see if I can pull some more folks over maybe between now and 8 o'clock if we have some time. But boy, oh boy, it's a lot of people. And just one little anecdote before I go here, Marcy. Even yesterday when it wasn't Bike to Work Day, I was biking to pick up my kids, and we were at the corner of Westminster and Sherbrooke. And I'd never seen it before, but we were on the bike lanes there. I had the trailer in the back. I counted, there was 9 of us just in a line making our way where we all need to go, all individuals. And I haven't noticed that before, but on that bike lane where there's actually traffic starting to form in bike lanes here in the city, which is a really interesting thing to start seeing.
Yeah, no kidding, hey? I don't know if you can move you got it on a tripod, if you can move back behind you. Do you see what's going on behind you? That Peloton's made its way to the pit stop table.
Okay, 1 second.
Did it fall in the grass? That's okay.
Okay, 1 second.
It's live radio. It's live radio. We're Zoom live.
Oh, gosh.
Well, that's because I'm making you move it live. Don't worry. You're good. You're good. We can still see you.
Okay, you see it here?
Yeah, we got you there.
You can see me? Look at this. So
look
there's
at you. You move back. So go to the table. What are they giving away at the table back there? And while you're walking, I'll talk. Yeah. So here, I'm going to cover while Corey's getting reset. So Bike Week Winnipeg is all week long. There's different things going on. This morning, tons of pit stops everywhere. And what you're going to see is a big group ride that's going all over the city. Corey's at Assiniboine and Osborne. And then there's all kinds of things happening throughout the day, too. So there's a Ride and Go Seek event happening. Tomorrow, there's a Fermor neighborhood bike ride. There's also an art ride happening and a ride to the Sea Bears at the end of the week. So there's pit stops happening. If you go to bikeweekwinnipeg.com events, you'll find the map and you're going to see what's going on at different pit stops. So I just was curious what's at the table where Corey is. And Corey's such a trooper, he's made his way there. So what are they giving that stuff away?
They have like a bunch of giveaway bags that they got full of like bike goodies. They got juice boxes. They got bike lights. They got a bunch of goodies. And it's they said they got about 300 here, but they've been going fast, as you can imagine here, Marcy, because a bunch of cheap Winnipeggers are coming by. So.
All right, thanks for doing that, Corey. Sorry I made you drop your cam in the grass.
I'm getting bombarded over here. Okay, we'll maybe see you in a bit.
All right, Corey's getting swarmed by cyclists, so he's going to talk to somebody else, and we'll get him back on the air here soon. He's live at Assiniboine and Osborne this morning at one of those pit stops. So once again, if you want to read more about what's happening and if you want to make your way out, watch for bikes if you're driving this morning, and if you want to stop at a pit stop, check out the map at bikeweekwinnipeg.com.
The puck may have dropped on the playoffs, but the news doesn't stop for hockey. I'm Brittany Greenslade, host of CBC Winnipeg News at 6. To get your local news, stream CBC Winnipeg News at 6, 24/7 on CBC Gem, the CBC News app, and selected streaming platforms. CBC Winnipeg News at 6, your local news on your favorite streaming device.
We got a call at 788-3093, our commuter line. Apparently, there has been a vehicle in one of the middle lanes on Disraeli southbound, and there's a vehicle there. Now, I don't have a cross street here, so if you do have more information, call back, 788-3093. We also understand there's a northbound Lash has a stalled vehicle in the left turning lane, and we do know that in the rural area because of flooding. Highway 10 has water over the road closed, and also Highway 83, portions of it now with water over the road and the portions of that highway closed. So just be careful if you're out in the rural areas. We're in that time of year where it's spring and flooding is affecting your commute. It is 16 degrees, mainly sunny in Winnipeg. We have a risk of a severe thunderstorm this afternoon in the city. Our high will be 31. Well, next on the show, it's time to touch base with a little bit of local music from Tyler Del Pino. This is Patchwork.
One foot out the door, a single mother. Before she turns 24, she wears a coat around that's been held back. It shows that's just her life and how it goes. She's a beggar, serving food for a pocket of change. She's a dreamer, writing songs for a ticket to fame. And she tries her best to give that boy the world she wants for him. But it's hard with only pennies coming in. She feels cold when she wears that jacket, covers her face so the tears don't show. She hates all the repairs that happened, different squares hiding every hole. Cause you don't understand how to heal when you're broke. Yeah, we all got a past that comes with a lot of hurt and a little bit of patchwork. She's a lover, but he took full advantage of her. A survivor from the lines that he liked to blur. She tried to move on, mend the holes he left inside her heart. But there's always a reminder from a scar. She feels cold when she wears that jacket, covers her face so the tears don't show. She hates all the repairs that happened, different squares hiding every hole. Cause you don't understand how to heal when you're broke. Yeah, we all got a past that comes with a lot of hurt and a little bit of patchwork. A little bit of patchwork.
That's Winnipeg artist Tyler Del Pino. Does a kind of a blend of folk and rock. This track's Patchwork. You can check them out around town with local shows. It is 11 minutes to 8 o'clock on CBC. Thanks for joining us this morning. It is 16 degrees. It's sunny now. Everyone needs an umbrella and some caution later as we await some severe thunderstorm activity that's expected. There's a risk of that across southern Manitoba this afternoon. Well, schools in Winnipeg's downtown and the West End have been dealing with the effects of the city's worsening drug crisis. CBC Santiago Arias Orozco spoke with students at Gordon Bell High School yesterday to find out how they're feeling about it.
My name is Maria Grimaldi, 14. It's scary. People will come up to you and they will ask you questions, and it's like, well, I don't want to be a terrible person. I don't want to ignore you, but then you're also not in the right mindset to talk to me because you don't know, they could be dangerous.
My name is Lance, and my last name is Myron. I'm 17 years old. There's a lot of people over there that are that are unhoused, and it's really sad to see because I know they have issues and they're also human too. So it's like it's just unfortunate to go out there every day and I have to witness that because it's everywhere over there. But I've never had like a principal or like any authority figure have like an assembly of our school saying, hey, this is an issue we have, which I think would be a great idea for us here. Because I always accept the risk that whenever I leave the school, especially during lunchtime, I could possibly harm myself or another student. Especially when you walk past someone who is unhoused and has an addiction, it's like, what could happen to me? It's just a thought that keeps staying in my head.
In response to safety concerns, Gordon Bell in the West Broadway neighborhood has added community safety hosts to their staff. They're licensed security guards with additional training in de-escalation techniques and trauma-informed care. So the program just started yesterday. It's going to continue for the rest of the school year before it resumes in September. Mary Burton's executive director of Zungizi Ode, the nonprofit that started the community safety host initiatives, and she's here via Zoom. Hi, Mary. Nice to see you.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about your sense of this and the job of a community safety host in these schools. What are they going to do?
Well, basically, the community safety hosts are going to be a safety presence. They're going to be patrolling around the schools and having and just building relationships with community and with other students.
And what's the background of some of these folks? Like, how did you choose who would be, appropriate for doing the job?
Well, back in 2018, we started what we called a Housing Solutions Lab. And with the Housing Solutions Lab, we asked community what it was they wanted, what they needed, what they thought was needed in the community. And we got 16 recommendations from that 2-year research project. And one of them was our community, our elders, said that they needed a different type of security guard. They were tired of being profiled. They were tired of feeling unsafe going into places where they were looking for resources such as libraries, such as access centers, EIA offices. So we started looking into it right away. We started trying to implement some of these initiatives that we were tasked with. And Michael Champagne found Persons Community Solutions at a SETNet gathering, and we started meeting, and that was how it came about. Mm-hmm. And we all decided as a group to look for people with lived experience, people who have experience being profiled, people who have experience being feeling unsafe in places like libraries and access centers and EIA offices, and with homelessness and poverty and child welfare life experience. And we train them. We give them 170 hours of in-class training. They try to get their security guard license. We give them the 40-hour training so that they can be licensed. We give them training in de-escalation techniques, in use of force techniques, and also vicarious trauma-informed care. I teach them about advocacy.
So they're going to have all that when they go around the schools already now. For this, they're already ready to go with all that background. What was it about, we've been seeing heightened drug use, as you know, in Winnipeg, hearing concerns about student safety. What prompted this specific program with the schools to start?
Well, I kind of got upset when I noticed that there was incidents happening in the south end of the city with schools and people who were not being so very nice to and entering schools and making children unsafe. And I was immediately thought that they were probably going to end up putting SROs back in the school, which is not something I would want.
Police officers,
yeah, security officers, like police officers in schools. And then I thought, okay, well, if it's not police officers, they're going to put traditional security guards in there. And that's also not a good thing. So I figured I'd reach out to WSD and see if there's any way that we could make this work. And we had a few meetings. I met with the superintendent of Winnipeg School Division. And then I had a group meeting with PCS and Winnipeg School Division. And we decided that, yes, we were going to do a pilot project starting in September. But then with all of the incidents going on around Gordon Bell this past couple weeks, Winnipeg School Division reached out to us and asked us if we could start earlier. And we, of course, said, yeah, no problem. We can do it.
So you're in Gordon Bell and John M. King, is that right? Is that the two schools?
Well, I don't think we're in John M. King.
Okay.
I don't have all of the correct information right now. I don't
Okay.
want to say something that's not correct.
Yep.
But I do know that we are patrolling between the areas of John M. King and Gordon Bell.
Got it.
And inside of Gordon Bell, trying to build relationships with the students and the teachers.
And how many people? How many of those safety hosts will be there?
I think I might be wrong, but I think it's 4.
Okay. What difference do you hope that this is going to make overall, Mary?
Well, I hope that when our community safety hosts start to build relationships with people, they're able to mitigate some of these very dangerous situations and be able to help the students feel safe when they're going to and from school. Because that's the bottom line: is our youth have to be safe, our kids have to be safe.
In terms of what the actual person will be able to do, how would, in your view, a safety host differ from a security guard? Like, if there's, can you give us a scenario where they might be able to respond?
Well, our safety hosts are trained to de-escalate situations, to build relationship, to talk to people. I like to say that our hosts are people-centered and not building-centered. So what I mean by that is that we treat, my personal belief, and this is something that I reiterate to our hosts all the time, is when you treat people like people, they're going to act like people. If you treat people like trash, they're going to act like trash. So our hosts will approach the situation in a way where they are being very respectful, they're being very kind, they're being very honest. But if at any point they feel unsafe, they know that they are to call security, like police services.
So active danger is a police call, but if somebody needs help or first aid administered or Narcan, those are all things you train for.
Yes.
Thank you very much for telling us about it, and also for your just for your ongoing work in community, Mary. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time this morning, and good for you getting this program up and running when you were on track for September and getting it out there early in Winnipeg.
Yeah, it was kind of a shock. Also, we're like, oh, okay, let's go. Let's get it going.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's Mary Burton with us, live executive director of Zungizi O'Day. The safety officers are going to be starting today, as you heard, around between Gordon Bell and John M. King outside in that area. All right, let's talk about after 8 o'clock on the program. It's all going to be about flooding. We're going to talk to the Reeve of Swan Valley West, and Heather Wells is here with headlines to tell us more.
Yes, flash flooding has left the town of Minitonas with no way in or out. All roads around that western Manitoba community have washed out. Property damage is extensive. Officials with Manitoba's Emergency Management Organization are headed to that area. And while the waters in Minitonas are receding, floodwaters are rising further west, and sandbagging is underway in the town of Swan River. Now, things in Minitonas and Swan River may not improve right away. Another storm system with the potential of 100 millimeters of rain is heading that way later today and tonight. I'll be back with more Manitoba news at 8:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather. Well, stay with us. We'll take you live to the flood zone after 8 o'clock right here live on Information Radio. Also, we're going to head back to Corey, who's still at that very, very busy Bike to Work Day stop at Assiniboine and Osborne this morning as he's connecting with cyclists. It's 16 in Winnipeg, really hot, sunny, high 31, Humidex 37, and this afternoon a good risk of a thunderstorm, and that risk extends across southern Manitoba. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio on 89.3. Next on CBC World Report. Stay with us.
Adam Shankman is a big-time director. He's made movies like The Wedding Planner, A Walk to Remember. His new movie is called Stop That Train, which he calls a stupid comedy in the best way. Adam's going to tell you about that. Plus, he used to produce the Oscars. You have to hear some of his behind-the-scenes stories.
There was so much wild stuff that happens there.
Q with Tom Power. This morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland. And on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts. The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current with Matt Galloway.
Up until now, the brain disease CTE could only be seen in autopsies. Now, people are volunteering to have their brains studied while they're alive with the hopes of helping people understand what's happening to them, what they are learning, coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. The Carney government will introduce an online harms bill as soon as Wednesday in the House of Commons. It's expected to renew efforts to protect the privacy and mental health of young users and propose new guidelines for how children engage with social media. Janice McGregor is in our parliamentary bureau. And Janice, what is driving this latest bill?
Marcia, there were a number of failed attempts to introduce online harms legislation in the previous parliament. It's taken months for the Carney government to figure out an approach it believes will stand up to scrutiny. But what's on notice now is a bill called the Digital Safety Act. This could roll up a number of things that ministers like Mark Miller have been contemplating, like measures to protect vulnerable kids from the harms of social media. Taking action to regulate chatbots has been a priority since the school shooting in Tumbler Ridge. But chatbots are also used in education, so it's not clear that an outright ban is practical. When the government's AI strategy was released last week, it offered few specifics on how technology would be regulated. What's on notice now, though, would create a new entity called the Digital Safety Commission of Canada, something to serve as an enforcement and compliance agency. If the government is going to add age verification requirements to social media, it's going to have to figure out how to do that without risking private information like facial images or age data being exploited or manipulated. Digital cloud safety standards are among the topics that Mark Carney said last week he'll be discussing with G7 leaders at their summit next week.
So how would this fit in with the social media bans already being debated in several provinces?
Well, Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew has committed to proceed with a social media ban no matter what. Other provinces are still weighing the pros and cons. Saskatchewan's Scott Moe, though, has warned that if provinces all act individually, you could create a patchwork of rules across Canada. It's also unclear that constitutionally this even falls under provincial jurisdiction. All this adds to the pressure on the federal government to lead and be the regulator on this file.
Thanks, Janice.
You're welcome.
The CBC's Janice McGregor in our parliamentary bureau. To a CBC News exclusive now, there is new information about a shooting in Surrey, BC last month. Police have not identified the victim, but an investigation by the Fifth Estate reveals that he's an alleged high-level member of the Bishnoi gang. Fifth Estate co-host Stephen D'Souza has the story.
This has a very different feel to it. Individuals just walk in, kill someone, and then walk out. Absolutely targeted.
Surrey radio host Ginny Sims says the shooting of a man in the same building as her studio has shaken residents already rattled by a rash of extortion-related crime.
They're scared not only for today, they're now scared what the future of their children is going to be in this country.
Police haven't released the identity of the man shot and killed, but the Fifth Estate learned his name is Gurvikramjit Singh Waring. He was also known as Satvir Singh Waring, or Sam Canada. RCMP said he wasn't the target of any of the extortion threats that have plagued the South Asian community. But Sims says multiple people have told her Waring was making threats.
Some people are saying we've given information we had to the police. So when the police are saying unknown to the police, they don't know what's going on.
A rival Indian gangster reportedly claimed responsibility for the killing in a social media post. He said Sam was the main handler for the Bishnoi gang in Canada and involved in cricket match fixing. Independent journalist Ritesh Lakshmi says Bishnoi, a designated terrorist entity in Canada, is fighting against a breakaway faction.
I believe Sam Canada is also a part of that ongoing series of violent events targeting each other's groups.
One of Sam's aliases also reportedly appeared on an Indian government list of gangsters hiding in Canada, but federal agencies wouldn't comment if he was on their radar. Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, Toronto.
Carmaker Stellantis is recalling more than 1 million Jeep SUVs and trucks worldwide. It's because of fire concerns linked to the vehicle's power steering. The recall includes Jeep Wrangler and Gladiator truck models from 2021 to 2025. About 106,000 were sold in Canada. A marathon trial in Kingston is draining local support services. A former high school teacher is facing 98 charges. They include more than 30 counts of sexual assault and making child pornography. Dan Takama has more on the case and how the lengthy legal process is affecting some of the alleged victims.
It's been more than a year since the marathon trial of Michael Haima began at the Superior Court of Justice in Kingston, Ontario.
It is like having a constantly open book that we can't close.
For all that time, Trina Martin and her co-workers at Sexual Assault Centre Kingston have been supporting a dozen women involved in the case. She says they're all feeling the strain.
Trying to support such a massive case certainly has an impact. It stretches our capacity.
Haima faces 98 charges and has pleaded not guilty to 96 of them, including more than 30 counts of sexual assault and multiple charges for allegedly accessing and making child pornography. Megan Stevens is a former Crown attorney who's been following the trial.
If there is a case with as many charges, I've never been aware of one of that magnitude.
Court dates have been set aside into March of next year. Martin says staff at the center will keep providing support, but she goes back to that idea of a book they can't shut, tugging at their attention and waiting for an ending.
This is a chapter that folks can't close until it concludes.
Both the Crown and defense declined to comment. Haima's lawyer is expected to start making her case next month and says he plans to testify in his own defense. Dan Takama, CBC News, Kingston, Ontario.
U.S. President Donald Trump has a new timeline for an end to the war in Iran.
The strait will open up right away. It'll open up immediately upon signing, which could be in 2 or 3 days.
Trump says Iran will not be allowed to have nuclear weapons under the new deal. The fighting between Israel and Iran has stopped for now. Trump says he had a productive conversation with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
We had a very good conversation, and he was hit, and he hit back, and I can't blame him for that. But no, he hit back. They were going back and forth, and now they both agreed through me to stop, and we're in the final throes of what will be a very, very good deal.
Trump says there are no sticking points getting in the way of a good deal. Iran has maintained that further Israeli attacks on Hezbollah in Lebanon could lead to retaliation. There are reports today at least 8 people were killed in an Israeli strike on South Lebanon. Emergency crews in the Philippines are searching for survivors in yesterday's earthquake. Crews are using backhoes and sniffer dogs to look for people trapped in the rubble. The earthquake killed at least 37 people. More than 450 others are injured. Rescue operations are concentrated in urban areas like General Santos City. In Canada, Newfoundland and Labrador's Filipino community is watching the destruction online. Maddie Ryan reports on how the tragedy is hitting close to home.
A lot of videos I've seen were like people calling out, "Lord, Lord, help us," and that desperate need of help is like something really heartbreaking to see.
19-year-old Gian Albino is describing the devastation he's seeing unfold close to home in the southern Philippines, caused by a 7.8 magnitude earthquake Monday morning. Schools have been damaged, infrastructure destroyed, and Albino's favorite fast food restaurants crumbled. He moved to St. John's, Newfoundland with his parents in 2024, one of nearly 1 million Filipinos living in Canada, a community he says has been helpful in troubling times.
The population of Filipinos coming over here has been really big recently, and I think that we should all help each other out because we are united.
That's a sentiment Erwin Ponce lives by. He founded Happy Valley Goose Bay Labrador's Filipino Association in 2019. And he's no stranger to disaster.
Whenever this happens in the Philippines, like natural disasters and all these earthquakes,
The Filipino community in Labrador are very active with fundraising to reach out to those who are affected.
Some of those fundraisers have already started, and Ponce is hopeful those outside of the Filipino community will lend a helping hand too. Maddie Ryan, CBC News, St. John's.
That is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Marcia Young.
Well, it's sunny, humid, and hot. Very sticky across southern Manitoba today. It's the kind of heat where you know, as they say, something's going to give. So this afternoon, we have a risk of severe thunderstorms across most of the south. And that will not help with the flooding situation we're reporting on this morning. Hi, everyone. I'm Marcy Marcusa with our team here at Information Radio at CBC Manitoba on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube. So this half hour on the show, we're going to reach out live to the Reeve of Swan Valley West, Bill Gade. He's going to join us for the very latest on what is happening in that part of Manitoba. Minnetonka, of course, is being described as an island after overland flooding yesterday. Shut down most of that town with power, and some people were rescued. There's helicopters headed to the area, and they're still trying to figure out how to move forward. Now, the water has stopped going up, we understand, in Minnetonka, but the water's just moved. So we're going to find out more from Bill Gade about the very latest in that part of Manitoba. School, as you can imagine, still not on today in Minnetonka. Also here in the city, people biking to work for Bike to Work Day. We'll touch base with Corey Funk, who's out on the road with a bunch of cyclists. Heather Wells has more on the weather and headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, things in Minnetonka and Swan River could get even more challenging as another storm system moves through. It has potential for 100 millimeters of rain and thunderstorms with heavy showers. It's on top of all that rain they had Sunday night. Now, people in Minnetonka say the last time they saw floods like this was back in 1988, and the water this time is 2 feet higher. Here in Winnipeg, Gordon Bell High School has 2 new security guards. The community safety hosts are trained in harm reduction and trauma-related care. The school's been grappling with security concerns outside the building, including people openly using drugs nearby. We'll hear from a grade 11 student who says he often comes across people acting erratically around the school, and it makes him worry about his own safety. I'll be back with more Manitoba News at 8:30.
All right, thanks, Heather.
Thanks.
Here's Abby Adiemi now with a brief look at our forecast.
Yeah, Marcy, southern Manitoba just bracing for that severe weather outbreak hitting us sometime this afternoon into the overnight period. Most of the regions down south already seeing temperatures between 14 degrees and 22 right now. We'll see highs close to the 30s, but up north, lots of sunshine, temperatures near 19 degrees in the areas, and we'll see highs peak at 27. But for Winnipeg, it is 20 degrees right now.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Already up at 20. We have a northbound vehicle stalled on Lage Modière in the left turning lane. Also highways 10 and 83. 10 closed, 83 with parts closed due to overland flooding up around those flood zone areas. So we will have the Reeve from that area on momentarily. But while we're talking traffic, if you need to call us, 788-3093. We've been reminding you this morning in the commute to watch for cyclists. That's because it is Bike to Work Day. There's pit stops all over the city. That means increased numbers of cyclists and all kinds of people gathering. What I can see right now in our Zoom feed live is Corey Funk at Assiniboine and Osborne at one of those pit stops. Behind him, there's all kinds of cyclists getting some free swag at that particular pit stop. Who are you with, though, Corey? Who's your guest?
So I'm here with Stacy right now. Hello.
Hi.
So Stacy actually came in all the way. You came in from St. Norbert this morning. So how long of a ride is that?
It's about 20 kilometers.
Okay, and this is a pretty common commute for you, eh?
Yeah, I try and do it once a week.
Once a week, okay. And I understand. So you also have less and less unique bike in the sense that e-bikes are becoming a thing. So I just want to show you guys here on the camera, if you're watching on YouTube, she's got this thing called e-bike assist on her top bar that kind of gives you a little boost. Can you just explain how it works for you?
Yeah, so it's a conversion kit for your regular bike. So you get to add it to your regular bike. You can still use it as a regular bike, but it gives you like this little extra boost when you're biking. So if it's a little extra windy or a little extra hilly, you just don't get quite so tired, but you still got to bike like a regular bike.
So what difference has that made for your very long commute from St. Norbert's to downtown?
I bike more often because I'm not as concerned about it being windy or, mostly the wind in Winnipeg is the issue.
Has it cut some time off your commute as well?
Yeah, I can usually get about 10 minutes. I'm not faster, I'm just like more consistent.
Okay. That's cool. And why do you bike all the way from St. Norbert?
I just really love the fresh air and the sunshine and getting my workout done. Yeah.
Cool. And how many? I understand. So, because there's a bunch of stops, you got like a card that you can fill out throughout the day. How many pit stops have you hit up today so far?
I've hit 10, and I hope to hit 12 by the time I get to the office.
Okay, you're not going for the full 20. I hear 20 is the goal.
I don't think I can get to 20 today. I'm going to have to tour all of downtown 3 times to get to 20.
Well, I'll let you get to work because I know you're already late. You stuck around for me, so thank you for that. Yeah, have a good one. I'm also here, Marcy, with actually the guy who's kind of behind a lot of today. This is Dave Elmore. You are, tell me who you are.
My name is Dave Elmore. I'm the chairperson of Bike Week Winnipeg.
Okay, and you helped found this event 20 years ago.
Yes, I'm one of the founders of the first Bike to Work Day.
So just tell me about how much it's grown. Like, okay, to paint a picture here, I know I've been here all morning. I would say I've seen at least 300 to 400 people come by here easily today. And people with dogs on the front of their bikes, 2 people with dogs, a bunch of people with their kids, and just so many tandem bikes, seen so much. How has it grown since that first one?
Well, I mean, I don't think it takes much to see how many more people are on bikes these days. Post-pandemic, during the pandemic, we saw a lot of people sort of get on their bikes, and we've seen a lot of them sort of stick with riding their bikes. But in terms of Bike to Work Day, the growth has been astronomical. I mean, huge numbers of people are now riding their bikes to work, and with gas prices what they are, I mean, it's a great way to get back and forth to work. E-bikes have opened up things for people as well to allow people to ride further and again, still getting lots of exercise, but they're able to use those bikes and get places where they need to go. And as your previous person said, when it's windy or something like that, they get a little extra assist, and it's not so bad.
And and just I also hear it's the 20th year, so there's a bit of a contest going on right now for hitting 20 stops, right?
There is. We normally have a contest where people we like to get them to hit at least 6 pit stops, but this year we're doing a 20 for 20 challenge. So if they hit 20 pit stops, they're going to get entered for a special prize.
Can you tell me what the prize is?
I'm sorry, it's a special prize.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm looking forward to finding out what that is. Well, Dave, thanks so much, and thanks for putting on today. It seems like a lot of fun.
Thanks very much for having me.
Yeah. Well, there it is, Marcy. I'm just going to give a little panorama here. There's just so many cyclists coming through, and this is just a taste of how busy it's been here today here at Bike Week at the corner of Assiniboine and Osborne. So lots of fun being had over here. It's a vibe.
Okay, appreciate you, Corey. Thank you.
Thank you.
On a sticky morning, Corey out for Bike Week. If you want to check bikeweekwinnipeg.com, you'll find more events there. And hopefully all those cyclists have got rain gear because later today they will need it. 8:17 the time right now. The pit stop map, by the way, for all those bike stops and more events are online. As we've been mentioning, not great news in the forecast. More rain expected. Heather Wells was just talking about, 100 millimeters more rain potentially coming for the area around where the flood zone is already. So that is not going to be good news for my next guest. My next guest is Bill Gade. He's the reeve of the neighboring arm of Swan Valley West. Yesterday, at least 150 people, just to reiterate what happened, were forced out of their homes by flash flooding in Swan Valley after that area was hit with a storm Sunday night. So a lot of highways remaining closed, 1083. Environment Canada saying 150 millimeters of rain was dumped in just hours. Some localized areas reporting more. The arm of Minnetonka's Bozeman declared a state of emergency. And as you heard, Minnetonka's schools still closed today and lots of problems. So we really appreciate Bill Gade giving us some time on CBC to update everything. Good morning to you, Reeve.
Good morning.
So can you tell me at the light, at light now, when you're looking at the damage, because we've been talking about Minnetonka so much, what's the damage?
So we're just starting to assess damage this morning. There's still places where the water is going up, unfortunately, in Swan River. We're seeing drops just to the south of town. So we're still, we're not even into damage assessment fully yet. We're looking at some roads this morning, but we still have people actively sandbagging right now trying to save homes.
In Minnetonka, is the town is, how much, can you tell us how much of the town might have, how many buildings got water in the basement? Like, do you have a sense of that?
Minnetonka's a beautiful community, lots of older houses, lots of things there. I have not been to Minnetonka's yet because I've been to the west, but my understanding is practically all of them.
Practically all of them in town?
Yes, the sewer system failed there. It was overwhelmed with water, so certainly there's videos of people's toilets in the basement with water shooting out of the toilet as it filled their basement full of sewage. Some people I know only have a foot or two of water. Those are the luckier ones. Other ones, the basement was level full in Minitonas. So certainly it's not good there. And we have it bad in Swan Valley West, but I think it's still easy to say that Minitonas has it worse than us.
Okay, so a lot of that town is, I don't want to overstate it, I don't know what word to use. It sounds devastating.
It absolutely is devastating. You know, the people there, heart goes out to them. We've had a lot of losses in Swan Valley West in the last 24 hours, too. We've lost a lot of homes to flood water. But in Minitonas, it's not good. There's still no power in many of those areas. They can't re-energize the homes until they get some water out of them and get the electrical panel not flooded anymore, and that's slowing down progress there and a bunch of things. Plus, Highway 10 collapsed last night, late in the afternoon, and that's causing even more problems for getting in and out. Earlier on in the day, we just had water over it. We couldn't pass with water, but the highway is totally missing now. There's a 40-foot hole where there used to be a highway.
You seen that before?
We have seen here and there at times, north of Swan River a few years ago, we had some highway closures and some flooding. This has surprised us. We're not used to seeing this much flooding. 1988 was the last time we saw this roaring river really flood, and we're 2 feet higher this time with water. So the roaring river, like right now where the sandbagging is going on, that is the roaring river, and it's over 2 miles where the river normally is where we're sandbagging.
So to bring us back into Swan Valley West now, you said we've lost a lot of homes. Can you bring me to the situation there? It's the same thing, water coming overland into the basement, or what's the nature of what's happening right now?
So the only slight difference is the homes we're losing aren't connected to our sewer systems. They haven't had raw sewage come into them. They're just having flood water. Certainly we saw homes all along the roaring river. Homes that had never flooded have flooded. There's water on the main floor. But then what surprised us towards yesterday afternoon was that water kept moving and has gotten right to the edge of Swan River. In fact, is in the town of Swan River now. So we have a bunch of homes on the periphery of Swan River in the rural municipality. Those homes, many of them flooded. We were able to save a couple, but unfortunately lots of them have water in the main floor at this point.
Are you still sandbagging, trying to save things, or where are you at?
So Swan Valley West right now, I believe, our sandbagging efforts have stopped. That's moved into the town of Swan River, but we're only talking about a 200 or 300 foot difference on that magic line of whose municipality is whose. So the sandbagging is going on in the actual town right now. Swan Valley West, at this moment, we've seen about an inch drop where we were sandbagging last night. So those homes, at the moment aren't getting any worse. The ones we've lost are still lost. The few that were able to be saved, last I heard, are still dry.
Where are the people?
Some of the people are in their homes. Most of them are with friends. There is an evacuation center open for the folks from Minitonas, but Swan Valley West side, we haven't done that because most people either wanted to stay where they were or they were staying with somebody else close by. So we haven't actually opened up anything ourselves. But if anyone's in need of something, certainly we'll find them a spot.
Okay, so the evac center for Minitonas is where?
I can't speak knowledgeably to that.
Okay, fair enough. And are people still safe to be in their homes in Swan Valley West? What can you tell me about that?
I had a conversation with Minister Naylor last night about that because certainly after I talked yesterday about people that were in the homes and that we hadn't gone to get, that caused a lot of firestorm out of Winnipeg, asking what we were thinking. Those people that are there, we believe they're safe. We've asked them to call us if they need help. But they've indicated they're safe. Those are not homes that are in the direct current flow of the water. Yes, they're wet. Yes, there's water in them, but they're not homes that are going to be able to be washed away like you see sometimes in pictures. So they're not really in physical danger of the home shifting or anything. Obviously, the water's there. They need to look out for themselves. We didn't go in there and forcibly remove them because we don't believe in that.
Okay. Helicopters. I know that you called in the province to send helicopters to help rescue residents if they were stranded. I mean, we had people sitting on rooftops yesterday. Is there any of that sort of, for lack of a better word, urgency maybe is the best word right now? Do you have helicopters overhead? What's happening?
We don't have any helicopters. Haven't really seen any. At the moment, we're not in need of rescuing anybody, but the message I was sharing with the province last night and continue to share this morning is we need to be aware of the idea we can't get ambulances to a lot of places. And so they've assured me that they have a plan for that. They haven't been able to share what that plan is quite yet. But I said, if someone have a heart attack or a stroke, and certainly when somebody's sandbagging their house trying to protect it, we're in that risk of heart attack, we need to be able to get in there and get that person. So the province says they have a plan, and I'm sure they do.
What else do you need to say this morning for residents, for what they need to know to keep safe moving forward?
Well, yesterday we had some people that tried to cross some water. The vehicle was swept off. They very nearly died. We saved them just a couple minutes before they probably would have drowned. So it's incredibly important to understand how dangerous the water is and to not have that happen again. No one on the emergency crews wants to go to have a miss. We're happy we saved them, but we don't want to have the option of not saving them next time around. So we're trying to be kind of cautious of that. This will pass. The water levels are starting to drop some, not nearly as quickly as we were hoping. We keep our eyes on the skies. We hope that doesn't make it worse. But also, we all know, everybody knows, and everybody's thinking of you, and everybody's doing the best they absolutely can.
So when you hear there's 100 millimeters of rain in the forecast possible, can you even wrap your head around that?
Yeah, because the other night when we got as much rain as we did, the forecast wasn't for that much. So here we have a forecast that says up to 4 inches. We have our fingers crossed that that's not going to get across the mountain. Sometimes we get lucky and those storm systems don't cross and they stay more in that Dauphin area. But the only thing we can do right now is cross our fingers that that's the case today.
I'm talking about Highway 10 and 83 right now. Any other major roads people should know about in the area that are gone or, unsafe?
Those ones are the big routes, of course. There's a lot of other roads, basically any gravel road you can imagine in the eastern part of Swan Valley West or the western part of Minnetonka's Bozeman is affected. 83 does look like it can reopen today as long as it doesn't rain anymore. So we're expecting to see an announcement on that later this morning or early this afternoon. The water levels are down there enough. There's only one spot. 83 is currently overtopped and it's less than 2 inches.
Okay.
So that'll go down that 2 inches. We can get the debris scraped off it. We can get that route open again to the south. Highway 10 obviously is going to take some time.
Bill Gade, thank you for being on CBC, for passing the messages to people for how they can stay safe. And I know you won't get any sleep, so have more coffee today, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bill Gade is the Riva, the arm of Swan Valley West. Well, one of the most dramatic stories so far that we've had shared with us is from Ian McKay. Lives in a farm in the West Fable River north of Minnetonka. He had to rescue his wife from the home as floodwaters rose. Here's what he told CBC's Bartley Kivas yesterday.
This is ruined. I don't think 100 to 150 semi-loads of dirt could repair my front yard. It's completely gone. It's 8 feet deep and 80 feet wide. And 200 feet long, 300 feet long.
8 feet deep and 80 feet wide and 300 feet. So you're talking like a channel that would have taken excavators weeks to tear out.
And it did it overnight. Last night at this time, life was good. It did it. This is one 24 hour. Yeah, one day.
Ian, did you end up with mud in your house?
Yeah. I was going to say I never in my wildest dreams thought that I'd ever walk in my house with boots that have mud on them and not care. Personal issue there with one of my relatives that ended up that I needed to take to the hospital. The river was 12 feet wide when I left home at 6 o'clock. And I got home at 3 o'clock in the morning. It was 900 feet wide. So my wife was in the house and I couldn't get back to the house. So I took a 270 Hitachi excavator that we have some of our log equipment and threw the lights, fired it up, threw the lights on and walked it down the road, hoped to stay on the road because you couldn't see the road. The water was deeper than the tracks on the machine. And walked down the road and then turned into our lane where I hoped the lane was and walked right up to the front of the house. And she came out in her boots and whatever. The water was about a foot deep and jumped up on the track and got onto the machine and rode on the side of the machine. And I drove it back to get back out to try and find some high ground.
My goodness.
And that was about 4 o'clock, I guess, by the time that was done. And I phoned my neighbor to see if he was okay, and he said yeah, he'll be fine. He said he had a foot of water in some of his buildings, but he said, I'm getting ready to go and sit in my boat. I thought that was pretty kind of cute at 4:00 in the morning, and we just slept in the car, or we just sat in the car. You couldn't really sleep. There was so much noise of water roaring and just amazement. The sun was starting to come up, and just watched it just eat the whole yard.
So that is Bartley Kivas in conversation with Ian McKay, who lives on a farm near the West Favel River. As you heard, the situation's developing quickly. We'll get the latest in the news coming up at 8:30 here momentarily. If you need to call us with anything last minute in traffic, 788-3093 is where you can reach us at CBC. I'm Marcy Marcusa. You're listening to Information Radio on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and live on YouTube. Your news is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg at 8:30, already 21 degrees. Sunny start to Tuesday, but clouds are going to move in later this morning, bringing with them a risk of severe thunderstorms and a muggy day, a high of 31, the humidex 37. And then tonight, showers at time heavy with thunderstorms expected. Well, washed out roads, flooded basements, no power, spotty cell service, and a state of local emergency. That is what people in Minitonas are dealing with this morning. Cam McIntyre is the owner of Wellman Lake Lodge in the nearby Duck Mountains. This morning, he's loading up his truck and trying to find a route to get out.
Yeah, I do have a generator, but I have way too much refrigeration equipment to keep it powered up. So we're in a position right now where we have to get out and trying to get our supplies and food to safety, because otherwise it's going to be a loss for us.
Now, the weather forecast for the flood zone is not good. Environment Canada says there is a substantial severe weather threat for the area around Minitonas and Swan River. Keen Kokolski is a meteorologist at Environment Canada's Storm Prediction Centre in Winnipeg.
Large hail, damaging winds upwards of 100 to 130 kilometers an hour, and very heavy rain, again, upwards in excess of 100 millimeters as well.
Kokolski says following this system, it's not over. Scattered showers are expected for the region in the coming days. In other news, Winnipeg's Gordon Bell High School has 2 new security guards. The community safety hosts are trained in harm reduction and trauma-related care. The school has been grappling with security concerns outside the building, including people openly using drugs nearby. The safety hosts will pick up discarded needles and step in if students are approached by adults who may be intoxicated. Grade 11 student Lance Myron says he often comes across people acting erratically around the school.
I come to school every day and I walk out there every day. And it's a little scary at times, especially when you walk past someone who is unhoused and has an addiction. It's like, what could happen to me?
Card readers were also installed at the high school's entrances to regulate access. A single father in Winnipeg is missing out on financial aid because he is in immigration limbo. Abdawali Mohammed is a Somali immigrant who is legally allowed to live in Canada with his Canadian children. A judge and immigration officials say he is a law-abiding, tax-paying resident who should receive the Canada Child Benefit. But despite being allowed to stay, Mohammed does not have the correct formal immigration status to qualify under the current tax law.
It's heartbreaking that, the children are, I don't want to say punished, but being held accountable because of my immigration status.
A recent tax court ruling in Mohammed's case says the law needs updating to better consider parents in situations like this. The Federal Finance Ministry says it is reviewing the decision. And social media may soon be banned in Canada for children under 16. The Carney government has started the process to table its Digital Safety Act. We do not have details of the proposed law just yet, but there are reports it would force apps like TikTok and Instagram to enforce age verification. Polling shows 3/4 of Canadians support age restriction for social media. There is a concern over the decline in youth mental health, cyberbullying, and screen addiction. Malaysia and Australia already banned children from having social media accounts. Several other nations are considering laws banning access to protect children. You can find the latest news, including the latest on the flood situation in the Minitonas and Swan River area. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Sounded pretty harrowing with Bill Gade there from Swan Valley West, Heather. I'm sure the stories coming out today are going to be like, hopefully everyone will stay safe and maybe by some miracle that system will miss us.
Yeah, might take a miracle.
It doesn't look good. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All we can do is prepare. So we'll follow through the day what's happening in the flood situation. Thanks to our news department, Heather Wells, Megan Ketchison, and Joni Nicolo, as well as Darren Bernhardt. Our live team, Corey Funk, Abby Adeyemi, and Darren Marash. Also to our producers, Nellie Gonzalez and Leif Larson, and to associate producers in unit. We had work from Nadia Kidwai, who's, of course, a host, but we also had work from Emily Enns in the program this morning. So thanks to everybody for their work. Corey's actually back from Bike to Work Week to tell us a little bit about traffic.
Yeah, it's just been those highways, of course. Highway 10, west of Minitonas and east of Minitonas closed.
Washed out now.
Washed out,
the
yes.
Said,
okay.
Yeah.
And as well as Highway 83 with parts washed out as well between Swan River and Roblin.
All right. Abby.
Well, Marcy, I'll tell you, it's going to be a day of split weather. We're tracking severe storms coming to the southern parts of the province, while up north it remains sunny and warm. Most of the regions down south will warm up in the 30s today, while for most the southern regions, rather, for Winnipeg, we're going to get to 31 today. In the northern part of the province, we will see temperatures around 27 degrees.
All right. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, everyone, for listening to Information Radio. Stay safe out there. We got you covered here for the latest information. And of course, Manitoba, remember, not our first flood. We can do this, and hopefully you're okay. It's been challenging, of course, reaching people because of, well, no power. Problems with cell service. So we will find out more today about how people are doing. But as you heard from the Reeve right now, he does feel that most people are safe, although some are staying in their homes, just, waiting for things to pass. But their homes don't seem to be in an emergent situation immediately. So we'll cover the story through the day. And if you want to reach out to CBC anytime, radio 893 at cbc.ca or on our listener line, 788-3205. I'm Marcy Marcusa. We have The Current coming up next right here on 89.3 FM. And thanks for joining us.